And good morning. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. I hope you had a great weekend. Orioles take 2 out of 3 in Texas. Bummer of a finale, but such is life. They're off tonight. They open up a series in Miami tomorrow night, as we are now just 8 days away from the trade deadline, and I'm pretty sure that's the only thing that went on in the world this weekend. I don't think anything else really happened. Just baseball, I think, was all that anybody.
WNBA All-Star game was pretty good, and
this is the you know what? This is the good news for the WNBA. I care just as little about the WNBA All-Star game as I care about every other All-Star game.
Well, and you're watching All-Star games wrong.
No, I'm certainly not.
All-Star games all matter.
They do not.
Why are they called all?
Right, that's a great
stars?
Point. Don't care. But that's not unique. I don't care about any All-Star game, and I never will. Would like for team. I never will, man. Like if my kid was involved, I'd care. I guess, maybe. I don't know what else is going on in the world at that point. Do I have other options? It's not my thing. I guess some people cared about the British Open. Xander Schauffele won that, but I did not sense that. Like, I don't know if it's just that there are more sports fans that are becoming like me, that the gap is widening between golf fans and sports fans. Like, I acknowledge how it is with me as a tennis fan. Like, I acknowledge that. I don't try to bamboozle anyone into thinking that I believe that when there's a tennis tournament going on. You guys want to talk about what happened between Alex Zverev and Arthur Fils yesterday? You want to do that?
What happened?
Fils all up in his face.
We got tennis drama?
Suck it. That guy sucks, Alex Zverev. I don't think that you do. And I don't know if it's just that like the net of the people that are in my world is more people that are like me. Like that's just where we are, because I have not been the big tent party. I have not been the guy that's like, I'm going to try to do the widest. No, like I'm very specific. This is what I do. This is what I'm into. This is what I talk about. This is the way that it goes. If you're not down with that, I got 2 words for you. We did a few suck it references this morning, which is very interesting. If you're not down with that, all good. You know, there's plenty of other internet. Like, there's so much internet. You heard about that Reddit? I hear it's fascinating over there on that Reddit. If you're into golf, you're probably going to go somewhere else. But I'm just noticing, like, and maybe it's the nature of the British Open, the fact that it's happening in the morning here, so like there's just less. I just did not feel anyone giving a rat's ass about the British Open. Also, it was a bad leaderboard at the British Open. As I said yesterday, I was trying to figure out what would make me interested.
Not Shane Lowry.
Certainly not Shane Lowry or the guy who's nobody even knew what his name was. It's not Thurston. It was Thriston.
Oh, okay.
Thriston, who's not Trevor Lawrence. I kept looking up and seeing T. Lawrence and thinking, well, good for him. Playing. Maybe that's why he wasn't as good at football last season. Is just because he just spent all of his time on golf. Maybe that was the reason. That's not the leaderboard that's going to get the casuals to be interested in. Even Justin Rose, God bless him, a gold medalist before, but just not going to do it. But good for Xander Schauffele, who has won 2 now. You want to break down the British Open?
Yeah, Schauffele.
All right,
I still
so
can't say
now
his name right.
Nobody can.
Even though you said it a billion times.
It's fine.
And I listened to it inside our 2-hour show on it yesterday too.
Oh yeah, sure. That was riveting. Sorry, love you. Listen to Fairways and Greens. I'm sorry. All right, so let me pull the curtain back. It's been a rough weekend in the Clark house. I've been in the hospital not me personally. Like, I'm okay. My son, my older son, my 9-year-old, we had to check him in on Saturday morning. My weekend got off to such a good start. The Orioles win. I was at the Third Eye Blind concert on Friday night, having a great time. And then Saturday morning, I'm just like, man, what am I going to do with my son today? Like, because I knew that my older son had been under the weather a little bit. And my wife was like, well, maybe you go out with the younger son, do some stuff today. And so we were at the pool. Everything's all going on well and good. Mrs. Clark calls, and she's like, yeah, we're going to the hospital. I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah. So we knew he had pneumonia. That's something that we've been dealing with. He's been sick since the beach. And then it took a turn over the weekend, and his breathing was really bad, and he had infected lungs, which I'm told you don't want.
Doesn't sound great.
That's weird. I'm the wrong person for this, by the way. This is, hi, me, Glenn Clark. You guys know me. I I reached the age where
You need a bone sticking out for you to not come in. Is that what you're?
Oh no, I don't care about that. Like if he was really like in trouble, I wouldn't be here. Like he's fine. Honestly, he's fine. He's miserable. He's unhappy, but like he's fine. So no, I mean that every time I'm involved with like the medical community, my first thought is, I don't think we actually need to do this. I think you're just trying to profit off of me.
Okay.
Every time they say anything, how about we had 2 X-rays over the weekend? And like, what are you supposed to say? Because you don't know better than them. Like when they come in and say, look, we took an X-ray yesterday and, nothing looked, but like he's just not improving the way that we would expect a healthy kid to improve over 24 hours. So we think we need to take another X-ray. Now, that's probably correct. Hi, me, Glenn Clark. Not only not a doctor, I don't even know that I paid attention in like anatomy or in biology, any of those classes. My science was not my strong suit. I know about VORP, but only a little bit about VORP. So the first thought that goes through my mind is like, really? You need another X-ray? Or you'd like it? Don't you still have the X-ray from yesterday? How much do you think really changed? Really? Like you're like, either my insurance company's paying for it, I'm paying for it. That's all I can hear in my mind when they say so. The only thing I can hear is, it's like Disney World, like just less cool rides. Just keep taking money out of your
the X-ray.
Right.
Because that'd be an MRI.
Every time they bring me another apple juice, I'm just like, am I paying for this? Am I? Because we've got apple juice at home. I'm that guy.
You can bring in apple juice.
I can. It's like the kid at the store. Can we have apple juice? No, we have apple juice at home. We get back at home, and it's not even real apple juice. That's the way that I felt the entire time. Look, my son is okay. He's okay. He's still there. I'll be back over there after the show today. Everything's fine. Mrs. Clark was able to get a couple days off work, so she spent the night. I spent the night with a dog, which was also lovely, and my younger son, all in one bed. We're all. That's
great.
The way it goes. All's good. All's good. He's improving. He's fine. Like I keep saying, he's fine. Like he's not. There's no threat here. He's just miserable. That's all. He's very, very unhappy. And the Orioles didn't help that yesterday. He was so excited about me coming over after the radio show because the game didn't start until 2:30. He was very excited that it timed out perfectly. That I was going to come over. Mom could go home. We could have some boys' time. So much so that he made me cuddle with him in the hospital bed to watch the game together. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Also, look, man. David Rubenstein, love you. God bless you. You seem like a swell fella. Next thing to solve. Pitching first. Second, the Masson app. It's terrible. It's a nightmare. It's always been a nightmare. Every time I'm worried that it's just me, I find out, no, I'm in the exclusive group of everyone. Everyone hates the Masson app. Please fix it. But third, also, for the rare times in my life where I might have to be somewhere I have to watch on a television, enough Masson and Masson 2. It's always been nonsense. Just pick a network. That's where the Orioles games are. Whatever's going to happen with the Nationals happens with the Nationals. You're the owner of the Orioles and the owner of Masson. So a network, that's where the Orioles games are. Because at the hospital yesterday, they had Masson. But you know what they didn't have? Masson 2. Now, again, it's 2024. I was just able to pull my laptop out. We put the laptop in the hospital bed. All three of us. Me, the boy, the laptop, all the stuffed animals. Very cozy. Very cozy in the hospital bed. All good. But it wouldn't be necessary if there was just a network, and that's where the Orioles games were. I dealt with this once when I was in Bethany Beach for a wedding years ago, and I was staying at a different place than we normally stay, and it was an Airbnb or a B&B. I don't remember which one it was. Whatever it was another place that had Masson, but not Masson 2. One network, that's where the games are. Period. Enough of this nonsense where everybody's got to guess or double check or whatever. Just stop. By the way, every time you sign into the app, you got to pick which team you like. You pick the Orioles, and then they still ask you if you know what network you want to be watching. And when you say when you say Masson 2, it still takes you to Masson. You then have to click another button. It's a terrible app. Fix it. So pitching app network. Love you. God bless you. PAN. It's the PAN strategy that we're going to work with. PAN. We'll call it pandemonium. You know what it is? It's a pandemic.
Well, I don't know if we want that.
Well, it is though. These are all problems that are ridiculous that need to be solved. Fix the pandemic.
So the ownership's off to a good start. If the worst thing that has happened during this ownership so far is your son getting sick, I guess.
Well, I'm not blaming them for that. I'm blaming them for the problems that they have inherited. They've inherited the problems.
This wouldn't even been a problem that arose.
No. They would still be problems. They would still be issues. They need to fix them. And I get it. Throwing out hats is nice. I'm not yelling about throwing out the hats. It's all good.
You didn't get one, huh?
Nobody said I wouldn't like a hat. I'm just saying it's fine. But there are actual problems that need solutions. The app and the network thing, high on the list. Not higher than pitching. Pitching is the highest on the list. Yesterday, maybe one of those fly balls going a little bit further would have been high on the list too. Would have been nice.
Yeah.
Would have been nice. Thanks for scoring 2 runs the day I was sitting in the bed with my boy in a hospital. Look, God bless you for winning the series.
Teach him a valuable lesson about losing.
Yeah, right. Is that what it was? God. It
happens.
It was like, well, I guess we're watching Clifford the Big Red Dog now. I guess that's where we're going. I don't know. It was what was on Nickelodeon at the time. So
Clifford's on Nickelodeon still?
I don't know. It was the movie. It wasn't the
like the live action movie.
Yeah, the one that had. I saw that Keenan was in it. I didn't see who else was involved in it, but I did see that Keenan was involved with this picture. So yeah, it's been a weekend. I haven't gotten a lot of sleep. It's been a struggle. It's been a whole thing. I can't get my dog to go for a walk because she knows something's wrong. She's like, half of us aren't here. There's something wrong. And then I'm like, okay, but we gotta keep things moving. We gotta still be functional. We're holding on by a thread. I'm gonna need you to work with me because I gotta go to work. I can't spend all day here with you. You don't get to go. She normally gets to go to work with my wife. Not an option, obviously, because my wife's not going to work. So, she's just kind of moping, being miserable. And I need her to pick it. We all got to lift ourselves up. When something's going wrong, we all got to pick up.
She's not picking herself up.
She's not doing her part right now. She's making it. I'm trying to push her. I'm trying to do everything I can to get her to go for a walk, and she's just like, nah, I'm good. She's like, I don't know if you noticed, it's humid. Come on. So that's what's going on in my life. Just pulling back the curtain. Everything's fine. We're not starting to go fund me or anything like. If you'd like to donate anyway, you'd like to maybe help get some pitching, I guess we can work on that. But no, everything's good. Coming up a little bit later on in the program, Steve Johnson will join us. We will talk to him about the Orioles. Also, it's Monday. Normally on Mondays we catch up with Jeremy Conn. It's been a little bit, and he still owes us a few things. I'm sure you've been on top of that, though. I'm sure you've been making sure that.
I mean, yeah, it's on everyone's mind.
No, we got to do better.
All right.
Remember we were talking about?
I mean, yeah.
Everybody's got to do their part. That extends.
Yeah.
All right, I need my dog to walk. I need you to produce. Okay? All right? We could try to see if we can flip-flop them. Maybe you go for the walk, see if my dog can't produce. I don't know. We can look into it.
It'd be fun. I'm
not saying, but you got to broach the subject with her.
Right.
You got to see if you can execute that trade. She's not responding to me right now. She's just like, look, man, I don't know what's going on, but I don't like it. Also, we'll talk about Eddie Jackson, Corey Wootton will join us this morning. So from out in Chicago, so all that coming up on the program today. Of course, the Orioles did win 2 games over the weekend. On Friday night, they hit a bunch of home runs. Anthony Santander hit 2 of them. There was only a debate between he and Corbin Burns, and Corbin Burns walked 4 guys, which was weird. I don't know what that was about. I mean,
2 of them were Corey Seager, right? So
I hear you. Still,
kind of
just. It doesn't mean you have to walk him every time. They were winning by 1 million runs.
Well, they didn't really need why even risk?
No, when you put him on, you run the risk that the next guy could hit a 2-run
the rest
homer.
of their guys suck.
That's the problem.
Well, the rest of their guys
remember what happened to Dean Kramer yesterday?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, what happens when you walk 2 guys?
not as good as Corbin Burns.
I understand that. You walk 2 guys, all of a sudden you give up a 3-run homer. You know what would have happened if he would have just given up a home run? then they would have won 2-1. That's just the way that math works. All right, so Anthony Santander hit 2 home runs on Friday night, so he gets his. We'll talk about him more in a second. He gets his 3rd star of the season, and on Saturday night, again, it was hairy for a minute for Grayson Rodriguez. He had a rough inning. He's got a few of those.
Feels like, yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Maybe it's since he watches Corbin so much, he's like.
But Corbin, normally it's like he gives up a run and then he's done. Like Grayson Rodriguez will give up 2 or 3, and then he'll be good. Like, and the innings after that, he'll start striking out everybody, unless it's his 4th start. Every 4th start, then he just gets torched. But like, the way it works. Grayson Rodriguez, who this might be the way that you know that this game does not work. Grayson Rodriguez gets his 7th star of the season to lead the team. Now, Grayson Rodriguez has been good. There's no debate about that. But he has certainly not been notably better than everybody else.
Well, and I guess
and some of it is bad luck, right? Like if Anthony Santander doesn't hit 2 home runs on Friday, then Corbin Burnes probably gets his 4th star. It's just that in the world where Anthony Santander hits 2 home runs and Corbin Burnes walks 4 guys, that was enough.
And I guess like they're just winning all of his starts. Like he's 12-4, and he had the most wins in Major League Baseball.
But wins don't matter.
I know they don't matter, but I'm trying to explain the trying to figure out
certainly goes a long way towards
what the causation of him having too many stars on his face.
Yeah, it's not. Look, I'm not saying Grayson Rodriguez isn't having a good season. Obviously, he is. It's just that he doesn't deserve to be significantly ahead of everybody else. That doesn't actually make sense. But whatever. We're not going to cancel the game now. I had that moment on Saturday. I was like, do I just like give it to Jordan Westburg so it's not Grayson Rodriguez for a 7th time? But I thought Grayson Rodriguez was the man of the match, and I don't want to do fake bits. So there you go. Grayson Rodriguez goes up on the board for the 7th time this season.
He just wins games.
Again, I don't care about that.
Well, that's why he's got the stars.
No, that's not the reason why he has the stars.
Well,
it's not the way that it works.
Then
yes, correct. If the team didn't win, but it has nothing to do with whether or not he gets a little W. That part is utterly and completely irrelevant.
Those are big W's.
I saw Peter Schmuck trying to dive into that topic recently. Like I think it was I think it was because of the final game of the first half, where Craig Kimbrell gets credited with a win, and you're just like, what are we doing? Like, what is? Yeah, we've been doing it for a long time. Why are we asking now? Why did we wait until no one gives a rat's ass about? Why maybe when wins actually matter, didn't we broach the subject of like, hey, we make it a better statistic? That's what it is. Today's show brought to you by the Stan the Fan Variety Hour. Stan, Ross, and Luke back in action later on today. 5 o'clock, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports. They'll be breaking down the Orioles after the series in Texas and ahead of the series in Miami. You can check it out then. I don't really have a lot of other takeaways from the Orioles this weekend. Heston Kjerstad's back. Kyle Stowers goes back down. You're bummed for Kyle Stowers because Kyle Stowers seems like he's earned the opportunity to be a regular major leaguer, and I think that you even heard like the acknowledgement from Brandon Hyde this weekend when he was asked about it. Like, he's going to get that chance whether it's here or somewhere else. Like,
did that strike you as a weird comment at all?
No. I think that's just what they say about guys. Like, I think it's what we would say if we talked about him. So, like, why?
Yeah, why beat around it?
If what you think that is that Brandon Hyde knows that they're like, they were almost done a trade, I don't think so. I think that Brandon Hyde knows that he's someone that's on the trade block. I think that's what he knows. And it's fine. Like, it's fine. It's the reality of the circumstances. I don't know what else there is to say. The other interesting thing facing the Orioles is they kind of acknowledge that they might not immediately bring Cade Povich back. So he went down on the 13th, which would make him eligible to return tomorrow. They've got Suarez lined up for tomorrow, but...
Is it 10 days or is it 15?
10 days.
Oh, it is. Okay.
But, yeah, Cade Povich... the interesting thing is that you could certainly justify... So I've said a few times, Corbin Burnes pitching on normal rest makes sense. Corbin Burnes pitching Wednesday, very logical. Grayson Rodriguez still has kind of an innings problem. and as we pointed out, has been rough every fifth start. Now, I get it. Maybe right out of the All-Star break is not the time that you need to give Grayson Rodriguez the extra day. Maybe right out of the All-Star break, like he's a bit more rested and he could be just fine pitching on normal rest. But is the value of having Birch Smith on your roster like so significant that...
Is Birch Smith allowed to run yet?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't bothered to look. I know he did pitch this weekend. I mean, look, what? I just feel like perhaps you might benefit from Grayson Rodriguez getting the extra day because you got to stretch this out over the course of the season with him too. We'll see what their plan is with Cade Povich, but they wouldn't sort of give that away whatsoever. And again, we just continue to wait on possible trades. They're being connected to everyone. The exclusive group of every player available. They've now been linked to within, someone we respect's reporting. They've been linked to Tarek Skubal. They've been linked to Garrett Crochet. They've been linked to Mason Miller. Just last night, they were linked to the Reds, who have pitchers.
They throw baseballs
legally. Yeah. Like, imagine thinking that the answer is Frankie Montas. Like, that's the Like I see this report. Who was it last night? I think it was Morosi, right?
Yeah.
JP Morosi was like, "Yeah, the Orioles are the Reds are looking to sell, and the Orioles are interested." I'm like, "Well, I guess like on Montas.
Nick Martinez throws hard, but we like that.
And look, I think Montas is better than what his numbers have been this season, but that's not the guy. Like, if you're doing that for nothing on top of the real thing that you're doing, as we talked about before, one of the problems facing the Orioles is that they have on their roster 2 pitchers that you have any faith in come the postseason. 2. So, like, if you want to say, hey, in addition to doing, something real, we might also have to kind of try to scratch a lottery ticket as well. Okay, like if it costs you nothing, then that's all well and good. But Frankie Montas has not been good. That's the reality. He's just not been a good baseball pitcher, and I hear that's what you want when you're looking for a baseball pitcher. Andrew Abbott is the other name that is interesting there. He's certainly pitched to a good ERA this season. His whip is 1.22, and it was 1.32 last year. Like, that's at a price. I'm not telling. Again, these aren't me saying no. It's me saying what is the price that we're talking about. I wrote today about for PressBox, and it'll be up at some point today at PressBoxOnline.com. We did this topic yesterday on the radio show, which is the difference between going in, being bold. I kept thinking all season long, I've kind of hinted around this idea that the Orioles, for the most part, in the Mike Elias regime, have made the easier decisions. They've not, even the Corbin Burnes trade, while significant, was a fairly easy decision once you got to the actual price. Once the price was Joey Ortiz, who was blocked here anyway, and DL Hall, who, again, you had given up on as a starting pitcher, yes, that's still a real price. That's still actual players, but for Corbin Burnes, that's fairly easy. That's not something that has hurt your system. That's not something that has caused any pain. There's no danger in making that trade. And for the most part, they have not made dangerous decisions. The 2022 trade deadline maybe stands out in that way because they were in it and yet they decided to trade away. And that did anger fans. And remember, Mike Elias had to go down and visit the team and try to smooth things over. So that's the one time that you might point out that they've done something dangerous during the regime. But this year, when we thought that maybe they were going to send down Cedric Mullins or just get rid of Ramon Arias, they just haven't done those things. They've largely made the easier decisions. So is it time now for us to declare it's time to be bold? And I don't know the answer. I keep thinking that's what I'm supposed to do as a columnist, to say now's the time. After all of the years of making the easier decisions, the smart decisions, the correct decisions, but the easier decisions, sticking to the plan, now's the time to be bold. But I don't know that. That's the tricky part about talking about it. I know they need pitching, but do they need to pay a heavy price for Tarek Skubal with his litany of elbow injuries? Do they need to pay a heavy price for Garrett Crochet, who we have no idea how many more innings he can throw this season? I don't know that I can say, though. Do they need to pay a heavy price for Mason Miller, who is a really good closer, but we've seen how that's worked? It's a volatile position within this sport. Do they need to be trading away among the top prospects in all of baseball in order to land those specific players? I don't think I can say they need to, but I get it. On the flip side, hey, 40 years, 41 years since you've won a World Series. You got a chance. Don't you need to take advantage of it? It's such a complicated... Like, I think it's time for them to be bolder than they've been. That's what I think. But if their answer is, hey, we traded for Eric Fetty and Andrew Abbott, and they did it without paying, the Kjerstad, Mayo, Basayo holiday price, I'll get it. I'll understand. That sounds reasonable. It's just ultimately will you look back in October and say, boy, if they would have just been willing to go get Skubal, that was the answer.
Because right now, it feels like just because of there's still question marks around Crochet and Skubal, so it feels like a reach right now if they were to do it right now.
Well, for the heavy price that it will take, for the absurd price. Right. Like I've heard people say, like, hey, you hedge yourself a little bit, and if you do the Crochet deal, you say, well, it's going to be Crochet and Fetty, and maybe even Crochet, Fetty, and Robert. And so you pay a big price, but you get a lot in return. Again, it's going to be a big price. And if that's for reliever Garrett Crochet and Eric Fetty and injured Luis Robert, because he's been that a lot, I don't know how we're going to feel about that price that was paid. This ain't easy, man. This is not easy. And I'm just not going to be the hot, like, again, hi, you know me, you tuned in Glenn Clark Radio. I'm not going to be the hot taker. I'm not going to be the guy that yells and screams, well, you owe it to you. Nonsense. It's not that simple. I think I'd be willing to pay a good price for Tarek Skubal, but every time we venture into this exercise and we say, but Jackson Holliday? No. Well, Kobe Mayo? No. Yeah. Okay, then Basayo? I don't want to, but like maybe I'd be willing to give up Basayo, Norby, and Stowers. Well, what? When the Tigers say no, then what? Like you had to twist yourself in a knot to do that. Then they said no. So now what? Mm-hmm. It's the reality of where we are when we talk about this. It's not easy. There is no easy. Like we just want it to be. Well, I saw even our buddy Paul this morning was like, well, I think if you give up Bradfield and Stowers and Beavers and Norby, like God bless you. Right up until the moment where the Tigers say, yeah, we don't need to do this. We don't have to move Tarek Skubal. So we want this, or we're not doing it. Then what? You can't make these teams. Dude, if the Orioles can pull it off, holy F. If they can pull off a trade for one of these guys without having to pay the highest price, Christ, do it now. Which isn't to say that Stowers or Norby, or I think they're all baseball players. I think Norby might be really good. But if you can do it while avoiding that highest price, hell yeah. I just don't think they can. Because I think if they could, it would be done. If there was any world where the Tigers are willing to trade Tarek Skubal without it having to involve Mayo, Holiday. Maybe throwing Kjerstad to that conversation. I don't know. Maybe the Orioles are willing to trade Kjerstad. I'm not sure. All right. I'm writing about it at PressBox today. You can read it there, PressBoxOnline.com. You want to real quick go over 3 up and 3 down just because it was a three-game week. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot of time that we need to spend on it. But 3 up and 3 down is brought to you by Costas Inn. And so far, it's a slow response for 3 up and 3 down. So you've got a great chance to win a $50 gift card to the Costas Inn. You could use it, put it towards a crab tower, which includes crab dip in a pretzel bowl with breadsticks, 3 jalapeno crab poppers, 8 stuffed mushroom caps with crab imperial, 6 3-ounce crab balls, 1 pound of jumbo steamed shrimp with onions, 8 bacon-wrapped barbecue shrimp with provolone cheese, 3 jumbo stuffed shrimp that are stuffed with crab imperial, 3 oyster rock, half a dozen large male steamed crabs, and 2 soft crabs. It's $350 at the Costas Inn, and you gather up the family, you order that. Oh, boy. You're going to have yourself a night.
You posted the picture. I think I blacked out for a couple minutes of the show.
It's that crazy.
Because I was looking at that thing.
So, yeah, I mean, you guys want to be slow getting your responses in for 3 up and 3 down. Fine. Then it just improves the odds of anyone who does. Again, if I were you, maybe reach out to some friends and say, hey, go over there, do this dumb thing. All you got to do is send in 6 names, and we're registered to win. Really not that hard. Just not that difficult.
The first 6 Orioles you think of.
Yep.
Put them in.
All good. All good. Even if they're stupid, you get registered. They have to be current Orioles. You can't just say, hey, Kurt Bleffery. You can't do that. All right.
He had a bad week when you think about it.
Yeah.
You know, just
3 up for the week.
the sounder. We don't get the sounder.
Oh, yeah, fine. Yeah, sorry. You love this.
How are we going to know what's going on?
It's a great point.
3 up.
And 3 down.
Up number 3 for the week is Corbin Burns. The 4 walks, not great, but, 6 quality innings, quality start, allowed just 1 run. What do I do? Corbin Burns, number 3.
So I went with Grayson as my number 3.
Grayson's my number 2.
I had Corbin right ahead because I was just not, I thought he had a better start. Let up fewer runs. The walk thing didn't bother me.
The runs is the area where you would say that. Otherwise, it's not like he put on 6 base runners over 6 innings.
2 of them were Corey Seager, and I prefer
you keep
him
trying to pretend
on
like that
first
means
base than anywhere else. Honestly,
right. 4
Did you
walks.
watch the LDS?
I did. Nothing went well.
Nothing.
It wasn't
That's
just
true.
Corey Seager.
It wasn't just Corey Seager.
It wasn't just Corey Seager. Grayson number 2, Corbin Burns number 3, and obviously number 1 this week is Anthony Santander because holy F. Like, just what else do we need to say? Anthony Santander. You heard of him? He's good. And it does further complicate the conversation about Anthony Santander's future and all that, but Anthony Santander, he good. The down list was tough this week just because, again, there was only 3 games. They won 2 of them. I had to get a little nitpicky. Number 8, he only had 8 at-bats, but he went 0 for 8 with 3 strikeouts. Ryan Mountcastle's number 3 on my list.
I put Dean at my number 3.
He's much higher on my list.
It was, and maybe it was a tough, just because it was a weird.
Like, if you want to say he didn't get his brains beat in,
right.
you can
and
say that.
His
but
best, it wasn't a good start because they ended up losing. But it was his best start since coming back.
That's not the correct bar.
That's his best start since coming back.
That's not the bar.
Dean's number 3.
He's way higher.
Mountcastle, my number 2.
Way higher on my list. CNL Perez is number 2 on my list. And again, I get it. Like, he only faced 3 batters, but he walked 2 of them and they came in to score. And I know that he didn't allow them to score, but this is the more time I spend with baseball decision makers, the more the walks are infuriating to me. Like, I cannot escape it. I can live with, if somebody's getting their brains beat in, if they're just throwing meatballs over the plate, that's a different conversation. But you give up hits because you're trying to make your pitch, fine. You live with that. But the walks, it's part of the reason why Dean Kramer's not getting nearly as much grace from me as he is from Griffin. It's the walks, man. Like, you got to be able to make your pitches. I know that we live in an era where like there's batters incentivized by taking walks and taking pitches. And not every walk you can even say is created equal because some, like you get squeezed, right? But Cionel Perez comes in a game that had no need to be close. No reason why that needed to be a game. Craig Kimbrell did not need to make an appearance this weekend. And by the way, he almost made the list too. But Cionel Perez, number 2.
You
said you went with
I went with Mountcastle
number 2. Yeah, Dean's number 1. It's the way it goes. It's just not good. And part of it is a reminder that, again, you have 2 pitchers that you can trust. 2. That's the list. Dean Kramer is not someone that you can envision starting a playoff game. And while he wasn't, like, god-awful yesterday, he put 8 guys on over 5 1/3 innings. Even dummies like me that went to Perry Hall can do that math. That's not okay. It will never be okay. And saying, well, he limited it to 3 runs, he kept them in it, like, you're being nice. It's not good enough. And more than anything else, it's the walks. It's always the walks. 4th inning. No reason that you should be walking 2 dudes. No reason. It's always the walks. And I get it, the Orioles scored 2 runs yesterday, and I'm not trying to say that they should have won that game. They absolutely should not have. It's unacceptable. But it's unacceptable to walk 2 dudes ahead of a home run, and that's the difference in the game. I can't get around that. Dean Kramer's number 1.
I went with Mateo as my number 1 because it was a short week. There weren't a ton of options. Perez obviously was not good. But
Kimbrell wasn't good either.
It's the I guess the longer form look at it, and Mateo just has not been good really for the past month, and it's everyone points that since he got hit in the head, he has not been the same, and he's just not putting together very competitive at bats, and he's an automatic out. It seems like of recent, and he was that. I guess he did get 1 hit on, was that Saturday or Friday? I don't remember. But he wasn't good yesterday. The Orioles clearly have a problem against left-handed starting pitching, and so he's going to be in the lineup against those guys.
Well, and by the way, how about my guy Zach Moore, Pigtown Sports, telling me that Kobe Mayo's only hit 1 home run against a lefty this year. So, like, I got to go more of those splits. Like, if he has 8 doubles or something like that, then I probably wouldn't, lose my mind because you face a lot less left-handed pitchers than you do righties. So, like, I need to know more about that data. But, like, the idea that Kobe Mayo's going to be the salvation against left-handed pitching, like that was notable to me.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not trying to defend like Jorge Mateo of late. He's not been good,
and he's not getting on base. And when he is getting on base, he's not even running as much as he was. And that's where all of his value is. He plays solid second base as well. But he's not getting on base.
He is their best second baseman. There's no debate about that. He's their best second baseman. But I hear you.
Yeah.
I mean, I hear you. Like it's been an issue.
So on a short week where there were a limited number of guys, this felt like a week that Jorge Mateo felt highlighted.
All right, we'll get it up at GlennClarkRadio.com here in a little bit, and again, you get yours in. All you got to do is respond, and you can win $50 gift card to the Costas Inn. When we come back in, we'll switch gears, talk a little football. The Ravens have a new safety. What do we need to know about Eddie Jackson? We'll ask former Bear Corey Wootton next. It's GCR.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where every day feels like Saturday, and French fries are a food group, where flip-flops are always in fashion, and seafood is always in season, where the boardwalk is bustling, and the beach is right outside your door, where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at OCOcean.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor, dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Frederick Keys Baseball is back. With 30 more home games beginning on July 2nd, the Keys are excited to welcome you back to Nimeo Field at Harry Grove Stadium. We want to see you there. Countless promotions will be on display every game, with it ranging from Tap House Tuesdays to Firework Fridays and everything in between. For more information or to buy tickets, call 301-815-9939 or visit frederickkeys.com today.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from driveeasymd.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. There, you just saved money with Easy Pass, all without slowing or receiving a notice in the mail. Well done, thrifty driver, well done. Get your Easy Pass at driveeasymd.com.
The Ed Block Courage Award Foundation has been working in partnership with the NFL for 46 years to support abused, neglected, and at-risk youth across the country, partnering each team with a children's facility or program that supports the well-being of those in need. Annually, one player from each team is selected by their peers to receive the Courage Award for their inspiration on and off the field. Learn more about how the Ed Block Courage Award Foundation makes a difference, and be sure to check out their latest podcast and web series episodes at edblock.org.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. CountySports.zone is the place during the year, the academic year, to find all of the scores, schedules, rankings, things you need to know about high school sports. All summer long, CountySports.zone is where you find, news stories, coaching changes, commitment information, maybe some human interest pieces, a look back on stories you might have missed from last high school sports year, a look ahead to this coming high school football and fall sports season. That's all available at CountySports.zone, which is proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. All right. Ravens held their first full training camp practice yesterday. Lamar Jackson dealing with an illness. I hope it's not what my son's been dealing with. Although somebody reported, I want to say Josina, reported that it was significant. Like he was significantly sick.
Someone pulled his Instagram story from Saturday night. He was eating oxtail pizza.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Well, we don't want to blame the oxtails.
I don't want to either, but somebody said.
I'm not an oxtail guy. Just not my thing. Again, I'm also very white for what it's worth. So, like a lot of things, just never been an oxtail guy. But but I don't want to blame that. Who knows? It could be anything.
No, yeah.
It could be, my God. But he was not out there. Otherwise, they got training camp underway. A lot of hubbub about some comments that John Harbaugh made. I just can't imagine caring. They also have a new safety. Eddie Jackson signed over the weekend, made his practice debut with the Baltimore Ravens yesterday. I want to know a little bit more about Eddie Jackson, so let's go out to our guy, Corey Wootton, of course, former Bear, and now you see him on the All City Network as well as Fox 32 out in Chicago, and he is with us this morning here on GCR. Corey, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you, man. Thank you for taking a couple of minutes for us this morning.
Yeah, no problem at all. How you guys doing today?
Everything is all right, other than we got to get Lamar Jackson okay. We got to figure out, we got to get him, like every time that Lamar Jackson gets sick, because, famously it happened once at halftime of a football game in Cleveland. Anytime he gets sick, we just got to make sure he's all right here. Like, we got to all be willing to go donate some soup. It's just the way that it works in Baltimore. If Lamar Jackson is sick, we're all sick, and I think you understand that, Corey.
Exactly. The good part about it is the season hasn't started yet, so it's before
get it out of the way
anything
now.
That's important.
No
Exactly.
Corey, we all know that Eddie Jackson is an accomplished football player. We all know he is someone who has played at the highest level of the NFL. He's been an All-Pro. He's been a two-time Pro Bowler. In 2024, what is Eddie Jackson as an NFL safety?
I think he's extremely talented. He's smart, ball hawk out there. And I think in Chicago, towards the end of his career, that he just wasn't healthy. And you could see the difference in him, from his first couple of years until the last couple. He just wasn't healthy out there. We saw him not moving around the same way. And when he's healthy, though, I believe he's one of the best safeties in the league.
Why, then, was he available on July 20th?
I just think a lot of people didn't want to take a chance on him. But I think it's a no-brainer for a team like the Ravens, because if you have a healthy Eddie Jackson, a guy that is great in the locker room, he's smart, he's intelligent, and can play, and if he is healthy again, I believe he could be a valuable contributor to this Ravens team.
I don't want to cast aspersions on anything in Chicago, and they certainly look like a team that's headed in the right direction, but perhaps fair to say the last few years it's not been all that pleasant to be in Chicago. Is there a chance that maybe, at this point in his career, getting somewhere with Super Bowl aspirations, like this is, we've seen this like Jadeveon Clowney a year ago in Baltimore. The Ravens have done a pretty good job of finding these types of veterans. Does it seem like maybe those circumstances might be beneficial for Eddie Jackson as well?
I think so. Every time a really talented player is getting up there in years, right, he's a veteran. You start looking at, okay, I've made a big contract. Okay, what's the next move? Mm-hmm. I want to be for an organization that has a winning mentality, that every year they're competing for a Super Bowl. And the Bears just weren't that the past couple of years. I think they're going in that direction, the way they're building the team, but they're not there yet, right? Baltimore is a contender. We can make an argument all day that if play calling was a little bit better last year, they should have been able to beat some teams in the playoffs. But
yeah. You don't need to remind us. You don't need to remind us, Corey.
But I think Eddie Jackson's at the point in his career where he's like, hey, I want to be on the team that's a contender every year. Arguably one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. The way they're building, great coaching staff. I think it could be a great situation, if he is healthy.
Corey Wootton, of course, former Bears D, now doing media, Fox 32, All City Network out in Chicago. Corey, position-wise, right, like I feel like it's something that I had heard that maybe Eddie Jackson, post-Adrian Amos, like the Bears maybe perhaps didn't use him exactly the correct way. Here, the assumption is that the Ravens want Kyle Hamilton to be able to go play every position and not be pigeonholed into specifically being like a free safety. Is part of this also perhaps beneficial if Eddie Jackson just has his role, and what should that role be at this point in his career?
Yeah, I think he should be a free safety. I mean, he's the ultimate center fielder. He has all the talent there. So I think if he's back to that position, gives Hamilton some flexibility like you talked about that can kind of do it all. But I think a thing with Eddie Jackson, he's going to be motivated, right, because the Bears didn't want him anymore. They said he can't play. So I think for him, he's got that mentality like, hey, I'm going to show them and I'm going to show the league. And I think this will be a great fit if he is healthy.
What about him and Roquan being back together on the same side of the football? We heard that Roquan was kind of pushing the Ravens to bring him in. Roquan has obviously been a revelation in Baltimore. We thought it was a good trade. It turned out to be one of the great trades the Ravens have ever made in the history of their franchise. How about the two of them being back together?
I think they're definitely excited. I mean, if you think about it, Roquan in his era in the Bears, that was some of Eddie Jackson's best years. So he's seen the great Eddie Jackson, and I think it's still in there. I think he still has stuff left in the tank. So I think them, Roquan being the smart, intelligent player he is, Eddie Jackson as well, I think it'll be great for the locker room, and I'm hoping it could work out that they get that tandem back.
Corey, has it surprised you at all how unbelievably well this has worked out for Roquan in Baltimore? Did you kind of know yeah, he's that they're getting the guy?
Yes, I was very against that trade just because I thought he was one of the rising stars in the league. I mean, it ended up working out for both parties. Right, I think the Bears have a great linebacking core, but I think it was perfect for you guys for what you needed. And ultimately, I think he was one of those players that was in a bad situation with the Bears. They kind of just didn't have the best mentality. They didn't have the best locker room. They didn't have the best coaching staff at the time. And for him, he wanted to get out, and I think it was a win-win for him. And obviously, he's producing numbers. He's at a team that is a contender every year. So I think it was the perfect situation for him. And I was sad to see him go because, man, he is an absolute beast. But good for you guys that you guys get to take advantage of seeing Roquan go sideline to sideline.
Yeah,
in my opinion, I think he's one of the most athletic linebackers in the league.
We appreciate it. It has been truly unbelievable how that marriage has worked here in Baltimore. Corey, if I could, a couple of things that I want to run by you before I let you go. Really appreciate the time. One, we're going to have to face I say we, I don't play for the team, believe it or not. The Ravens are going to have to face the Steelers twice this season. I think you and I maybe have even talked about it. I feel like I'm a Justin Fields truther, right? I have never understood why he hasn't gotten more. And I'm not saying he's Lamar Jackson because I think Lamar Jackson is a unicorn, but I don't know that he's wildly that far away from Lamar Jackson. Are you surprised that and I get it, the Bears make the move because they think Caleb Williams is the most pro-ready quarterback, and I understand that, right? I get the thought process. But are you surprised by how the rest of the league sort of said, nah, we're good on Justin Fields? And is it as crazy to you as it is to me, the thought of the Pittsburgh Steelers starting Russell Wilson, who couldn't throw the ball more than 5 yards downfield a year ago, over a dynamic playmaker like Justin Fields?
Well, I think it definitely is surprising how everything worked out with the Bears, just because I thought he had all the talent in the world. And obviously, right, he made some mistakes. I think coaching staff is a big reason. And I just don't think he was developed the right way. So I think it's best for both parties that he got to get to a good organization. Steelers run their organization awesome. Mike Tomlin and company, they do things great. But I kind of thought that they would start out Russell Wilson, to be honest with you, because of, Russell's track record. And I thought this was a year where he'd really learn behind Russell Wilson. And then if things went sideways with Russell Wilson, they thrust him in there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Russell Wilson struggles that they bring Justin Fields in there, because I think they do have a plan for him. I think Mike Tomlin and company are really high on Justin Fields. He has all the talent in the world. It's about just getting the best out of him. And there's a lot of different factors, right, from scheme to coaching staff to weapons. So I think they have a little bit better plan for Justin Fields going forward. But I thought the Bears, the way that they're building this team, I think any quarterback could be successful in the scheme that they have with Shane Waldron, what he did for Geno Smith's career now for the Bears. I thought Justin Fields, with the weapons there, you look on paper, the Bears have some of the best weapons in the league. Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. Then you go to the tight end position. Cole Kmet, absolute awesome red zone threat. Gerald Everett, underrated. He's basically a wide receiver at the tight end position. Then you look in the backfield, they got the three-headed monster in Swift, Roshan Johnson, and Khalil Herbert. So I thought this was the best Bears offense I think we've ever seen in their history. And I just thought Justin Fields could really, make his mark with this offense. But, hey, they didn't want to be the guy that missed out on Caleb Williams, because you look at Ryan Poles. If he's that guy, I mean, that would follow him forever.
If Caleb Williams is the player, or at least shows signs of being the player that so many people believe he's going to be, what can the Bears be this season?
I think they'll definitely be a playoff team. I mean, they should have been a playoff team last year. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender yet, unless Caleb, goes above and beyond, unless they figure things out with their defensive line, because I think that's the one weak spot of this Bears team, right? Obviously, the quarterback is an unknown. They think this, but he hasn't played any NFL snaps. And the defensive line, I think, is the one weak spot, right? Opposite Montez Sweat, there really isn't a dynamic pass rusher, right? They're hoping on Jervon Dexter, the talented defensive tackle, to take the next step, right? But opposite Montez Sweat, there is no other bookend. There is no other three technique that's a star right now. So I think that's the one question mark for me. And if they could figure that out, I think they'll be a great team this year.
I am a Montez Sweat guy. I was hoping that the Ravens could somehow get involved in that conversation, and the Bears had to go and blow everyone out of the water in order to pull it off. I guess that's revenge for the Roquan Smith deal. At Corey Wootton, of course, that's Wootton on Twitter is how you can follow him. Fox 32 in Chicago and the All City Network. Corey, is there anything else we can plug for you, man?
No. Well, you guys are on the East Coast. Maybe a little bit of a hike, but I do own a golf simulator called West End Golf Club. It's in my hometown in Rutherford, New Jersey.
Cool.
If anybody goes up that way, we're about 20 minutes from New York City, right by Giant Stadium. And if you like to partake in golf, or if you just want to have fun in the area, check out West End Golf Club, 118 Jackson Avenue in Rutherford, New Jersey.
Maybe you're going up to visit like American Dream with your family or something
exactly,
like that. You can stop by and get some golf in. Very cool, man. Corey, appreciate you, dude. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning. Let's do it again soon, all right?
Yep, appreciate it. You guys have a good one.
It's Corey Wootton, former NFL D-end. I don't have a big Eddie Jackson take. I know what do I have a take on is probably the way you're thinking. I feel like I've said that a couple times this morning. I think it was logical for the Ravens to add a veteran safety. I think we've all been asking when they were going to add a veteran safety. I think we all focused on Justin Simmons because he was the top guy, the presumed top guy on the market. By the way, the guy we were trying to think of last week was Jamal Adams. Like, that's who we couldn't think of when they had visited the Ravens, and we were like, who was that had visited the Ravens? We're like sitting here racking our brains. It was Jamal Adams. I don't know why that we blanked on that. But he ended up with the Titans, so he came off the board. I think we spent a lot of time on those guys. The Ravens needed a veteran safety. Someone that they could count on to play. Not a depth move. Someone to play to allow them to use Kyle Hamilton the way they want to use Kyle Hamilton. And Eddie Jackson, even if he's not prime Eddie Jackson, you would think fits the bill of someone that you can trust to play to allow Kyle Hamilton to be used the way that you want to use Kyle Hamilton. That doesn't mean that I think that Eddie Jackson will be an all-pro this season. I think it's a logical move that we were all waiting to see the Ravens and when they were going to do it. I still think there are other areas where it'll be interesting to see if a street free agent is still in the cards.
Obviously.
Offensive line stands out, but they are 10 deep with guys that seem like they're going to make the roster on the offensive line. Injuries can, of course, change that. But that's specific to, do they get to a point within camp in the preseason where they're like, dude, we don't have 5 starters in this group? And if that's the case, then do they start trying to figure out whose 6th offensive lineman could be a starter for them? I don't think they need depth along the offensive line. I think the offensive line thing is, do they get to the point where they don't feel like they have 5 starters? Do they not trust Voorhees, Cleveland, or Rosengarten to start, or, Faalele, Saleh, Josh Jones, any of the guys behind them to take the starting spot? And they clearly want to keep Patrick McCary in that swing role, so they don't want that to be the answer. To me, that's unique about starter. Edge rush could be just signing anybody.
Dolphins brought Agba in today.
And apparently they're interested in. So if you missed it over the weekend, Shaq Barrett, Baltimore native, retired from the NFL, kind of surprisingly. He's been through a lot. I think we all remember the story. But he retired, and so the Dolphins are swimming, and they're No pun intended.
Oh,
really though, no pun intended.
yes.
They're swimming in the waters of. You pointed out Agba. Apparently, they're interested in former Raven Unique Ngakoue, is somebody they're bringing in. So the Dolphins are in that market. The Ravens, I brought this up on the radio show yesterday. I saw our buddy Ty Karpovich, who does Oriole stuff for us at Pressbox. He also does Raven stuff for BaltimoreSports.com. And I saw that he did like a mock roster, and he had Malik Ham on the roster. And like, I love Malik Ham, so at first I was like, hell yeah, right? And then my second thought was, boy, they might be in a place where if you're an edge rusher on the roster, you're going to have to be on the team because we don't know that anybody's good. So we're going to have to go quantity over quality to figure out who might be. We cannot let anyone who might be capable of being a rusher depart. And that is where they could maybe use still obviously one more veteran in that department as well as far as street free agents are concerned. Those are the two areas. But to me, offensive line, it's unique. They'd be looking for a starter. And I think that would be more likely they'd be looking to make a trade if they get to a certain point in the preseason than it would be that they're looking for a street free agent. Health being what it is. If they lose two guys, then obviously that would change a lot of things. But edge rush, 1,000% would still think they could be in the street free agent shopping department. Hour number 1 of today's program is in the book. Steve Johnson will join us in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Things are about to get underway in Paris. The opening ceremonies are Friday, but I just saw that a lot of the team sports start on Wednesday. So I believe the U.S. Women's national team and the men's soccer team, which is not the national team, both play matches before Friday. So you're looking for where it is that you're going to go watch? Sports and Social's the answer. That's the obvious choice. You go to Sports and Social. You're just steps away from the FanDuel Sportsbook. You got the giant media wall, 100 foot. You got the great food and drink specials. On top of that, Live Casino Rewards members. If you're already in as a Live Casino Rewards member, you have the opportunity to earn discounts on cash and credit purchases at the casino. And if you're not in yet, then you can join the Live Casino Rewards Club online or in person at Live today. You can find complete details at livecasinohotel.com. Orioles take 2 out of 3 in Texas over the weekend to start the second half of the season. Let's talk a little bit more about the Birds. 8 days out from the trade deadline. Joining us now, former Orioles pitcher, the pride of St. Paul's and Kingsville. He's our friend Steve Johnson, Mr. Optimum Baseball, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Steve, what's going on, buddy? How are you? How's your summer been?
I've been good. Busy.
I saw you. You've been kind of all over the place.
I have. It's been a busier summer than
where do you go?
Than normal.
What's been on the docket for you this summer?
Well, I went to Denver. I went to Gainesville. Went to Seattle this past week. Went to up in Massachusetts this weekend.
Like doing just like visiting friends or like doing something particularly cool? Like what's the...
Well, we went up to a couple buddies and I went up to the Treehouse Brewery up in Massachusetts.
I have been.
We've been 3 years in a row now. It's kind of like becoming like a yearly trip, which is kind of cool. But
cool.
So my wife plays soccer at Maryland, and her friends are kind of scattered throughout the country. So this summer we've just been kind of making the rounds, I guess. Just Denver and Seattle were 2 places where her friends are. So
it's not bad options.
Yeah.
Like those are pretty decent spots.
They're good. Well, yeah, Seattle was hotter than normal when we went out there. The Orioles were actually out there when we were out there. We tried to get to a game, but there was wedding festivities kind of in the way.
That's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. Well, I'm glad. Who is the lacrosse player down at Florida? Is that someone in your family? Is that?
It's actually Bailey's cousin.
There you go.
So she just finished up there, and
awesome.
They had a good year this year.
Yeah, they are good. There's no question about that. They were like unseeded in the tournament, and everybody was like, "What? Like, what are you doing?"
Yeah, I think they were only unseeded because of their conference, but they had won like 17 in a row going into the tournament. So.
They came to Maryland and won by like 50 in the tournament.
Yeah.
Just like, I think they're okay. I think they're decent. All right, Orioles win 2 out of 3 over the weekend. Were you convinced that like what we saw that final week of the first half was just sort of maybe like fatigue of all of the schedule, like getting to the All-Star break, and that particularly offensively they were always going to be fine? Like that wasn't a sign of like them having some, fatal flaws or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, we had talked about that month kind of over and over, and they really crushed it through that month. I think going into kind of that fresh, they had finally had that extra off day, and then after when they came back, I don't know, maybe it just all caught up to them a little bit, and luckily they were able to sneak one out that last kind of day against New York. But yeah, you knew it was going to come back. The baseball is kind of big up and down, but you see everyone in the lineup. Everyone's going through a bunch of different things. Rushman's kind of been struggling a little bit, but still making, getting a big hit here or there, or getting on base. Everyone's kind of doing their own thing, and that's kind of why baseball is the way it is. You kind of have that tough time. They really haven't had that too much the last year or so, where they've lost games like that. So to be able to come back, kind of get off to a good start on the second half of the break, that's obviously a good sign.
I want to ask you about Anthony Santander, because I feel like so many people in Baltimore have kind of assumed that this was just going to be the end of the road for Santander here, because the Orioles have so many of these, first base, DH, corner outfielders, that they're just going to run out of spots for all of them to play, and they just couldn't hold on to Anthony Santander because of it. But man, all the dude has ever done is be productive. He has taken on leadership. He has been, the type of public face that you would want from a franchise. I'm starting to think that like this is the type of thing where you do everything in your power to try to give the guy like a 3 to 4 year deal to keep him around, and you solve the other problems because he's been too good to simply move on from.
Yeah, I think I've kind of said I've kind of been in his corner for the last year or so, just because I think, like you said, we have all these prospects. There's not a lot of room for them. You're trying to figure out who's going to go, who's going to stay. And I just think he's hit so many big homers and big hits. And he started slow the last 2 years. I think that's kind of why people may not think of him as a guy that stayed. His average has been lower. He started kind of slower with the home runs both years. And then he just ramps it up as the season goes on. And he's doing it again this year. And I think he's the guy you try and keep, but it's all going to come down to how much. Right. And you don't want to necessarily, you want the best for him. If someone's going to pay him a bunch of money, it's like, well, he might not be in your price range, but especially with the prospects you have coming up. So there's like that tough thing where it's like you want a veteran to be able to stick around that can lead these guys. But, some of those younger guys are also becoming veterans in their own. So, it's a tough one. I don't know like I said, I'm so glad I don't have to make these decisions.
Oh, dude.
Because there's some tough ones coming up.
But we're chatting with Steve Johnson here on GCR. I wrote today for Pressbox that like I feel like my job as a columnist, as a talk show host, is to try to do the hot take thing sometimes and to be like, hey, it's time to go for it, right? Like it's time. But that's sort of never been my style, because when I sit down and actually think about it, I'm like, bro, I have no idea. Like every time I see one of these reports, like the Orioles are connected to trade for Tarek Skubal, I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great, right? Like Burns and Skubal. And then I'm like, okay, but that's going to cost you, Jackson Holliday or Kobe Mayo. And I say, yeah, I think you have a chance to win a World Series right now. I think Tarek Skubal will be a great fit because you're going to need an ace for the next couple of years. But do I know definitively that it's time to make the really bold trade to trade away a potential top prospect in all of baseball in order to do that? I can't say definitively that I know that it's time to do that right now. I still think this team has a window for years to come, and I think Jackson Holliday still slates to be a big part of that, and Kobe Mayo, who's like the one right-handed prospect that they have, slates to be a big part of that. I don't know that I can say I think it's a good idea to trade those guys away right now for a Tarek Skubal.
Yeah, it's getting into the territory though where you don't want to send a lot of prospects away for a bunch of rentals either.
No.
Then you're constantly trying to have to make continuous moves. Whereas if you do make one big move yes, you're going to have to send some prospects away. You hope that you can maybe take Holiday out of those talks and maybe do it with maybe a more established guy who maybe someone, similar like a Westberg, where someone that's already up, who's already proven it, that you have pieces that can fill it. Are they going to do as good a job? You don't know, but not all prospects turn into guys that you want on your team anyway. And I think that's prospects are great. They're awesome. To have the amount that the Orioles have at the moment is unbelievable. And then also if they keep hitting on these higher drafted prospects, they're going to have more right in the same position. So to get a guy who has some team control, who you might have to send a decent amount for, but they're also going to be on your squad for the next 3 years or longer, that's a big deal. I feel like that sets them up for, if Burns isn't signed, then, he goes and you have still two studs there. So, it's a tough one, but hopefully they make the right moves. That's all, the right players.
Is Skubal that guy for you? Like, would you be willing to pay a heavy price for Skubal?
I think when it comes down to it, he's one of the top options. That's for sure. With when you're talking about what he's done this year, the team control that he has under it, and I think that's huge. I think if in my opinion, if they're going to make a move, I would hate for it to be another rental, because then it's just you're sending guys away. Yes, they're lesser guys, but you're still only getting this guy guaranteed. You're not looking years in advance. You're looking for this year, and that's great. But what are you going to do when it comes to the off season? So I think that he's a guy that can get the job done. He adds to this current team, so much depth in a rotation that's kind of been all over the place.
Is there someone else that they have been linked to that's particularly interesting to you?
I mean, I've seen, a bunch
everyone,
of guys they've been linked to.
Yeah, literally all of them.
I haven't really seen anybody that, obviously when he gets mentioned, he's at the top of the list just from what he's done this year. And I don't know. You hear all these possibilities and names, but you also wonder, why would they trade that guy? Obviously the package would have to be astronomical for them to accept it, because otherwise he's on team control for, you see all these names, and I just don't I don't know what they would be thinking in giving away a guy unless the package was just too good. And it's do you want to be on that side of it? So
that's the issue, bro. You're getting to the heart of what I'm struggling with, man. I am struggling with yes, I want Tarek Skubal. Okay, I like these guys. I hope you know that I'm not trying to talk about these guys like they're just commodities. I love Connor Norby, Kyle Stowers. I really like those guys, but I get they're the guys that appear to be blocked and most on the trade block because of it. You can't Connor Norby and Kyle Stowers your way to Tarek Skubal. It can't be done.
Right.
They're not making that deal. You can't just say, we want to trade the guys that we want to trade. Well, okay, when they turn around and say, great, that's all well and good, it's going to cost you Holiday. Now what?
Right.
Now what do you do? And
it's, I was just thinking that's why maybe a more established, maybe a guy similar to Westberg who,
that's
or
fascinating.
Hauser, where they've been up, they've kind of, they've proven that they can do it. Is that a guy that you want to? No, but you also have these guys that can fill the spot that are supposed to be similar guys in a situation. So it's maybe that would kind of allow you to not have as many prospects, because it's more of hey, he's doing it now type thing, but he's still young. But hard decisions to make. Again, glad I don't have to make them.
Right. No, your point about Westberg is interesting, because if Kobe Mayo is going to be a third baseman at the major league level, that's been Westberg's best position. We think that Holiday is your second baseman. Again, that's called a good problem to have if you keep all of these guys. You figure that out, and Kobe Mayo can go play somewhere else too. But yeah, I mean, there might be some redundancy there that could make you say, hey, let's at least throw that name out and not view him as untouchable in this process. I'm not opposed to that.
And I'm not saying I don't like Westbrook.
Right, of course
actually,
not. Yeah.
He's actually one of the guys I'm really high on this team. He's just kind of very consistent, but I'm just trying to throw out other options and ways where you could not necessarily send all the prospects over to him. So it's just interesting. I don't know. That's why I like my guys on fantasy football too. I have a hard time trading them because I'm like, well, what if they take off? I'm very much that way.
Dude, I am. If I drafted a guy, that's my guy. I'll go to war for him, right? Like I know Justin Fields is going to help me at some point. I just know it. I've talked myself into it. Okay, so is there besides Corbin Burns and Grayson Rodriguez, is there a starting pitcher with the Orioles have at the moment that you would trust to start a playoff game right now?
I mean, I'd say that there's a lot of guys still pitching well. Everyone in that rotation has sure you have a rough game. I think Povich had a couple tough ones there in their rough stretch, but those are going to happen. I even think Kramer last night pitched pretty well. He had one bad inning, one bad pitch in a way, and that was it. But he's pitched well against some good teams, so I'd throw him in there. And I think anyone in the rotation has done well. It's just, I mean, even Rodriguez has had some tough ones, but it's like he's the guy, so you're going to give him every chance to go out there. But I think everyone is thinking of it as, okay, yes, I don't necessarily trust everyone, but at the end of the day, you look at it with the rotation that they've had, they've got the second best record in the league, and everyone else is in the same boat. So at the end of the day, when you think of it that way, you're like, well, I've been thinking this way about the rotation all year, but at the end of it, they have 60 wins. So I think at the moment they keep rolling the way they do. They're in any game with anybody. Obviously, you feel more comfortable with a couple guys, but they get the job done.
All right, dude. Remind everybody how you're making better baseball players.
I'm at Optimal Baseball Performance up in Bel Air. You can get contacted through optimalbaseball@gmail.com, or you can Google it and all the information will be there.
Optimalbaseball.com is, of course, the website, and it's good. It's going to help your kids for sure. That is a promise that I can make, and I'll tell you more. I got a sick kid right now, but he was actually talking about you yesterday. This is a straight shoot, Steve. He's okay. I want you to know this, but my older son is in the hospital because he's been dealing with this he's had this lung infection thing. He's okay. I promise you, he's okay. And so he was watching the game yesterday we're just trying to distract him. And so all these nurses are talking to him and they're trying to get his attention off the IV they're sticking in him. So they're all asking him. And he was going on about Coach Steve. He was going on about how he's a baseball player and he learned from Coach Steve and it made him a pitcher. So we're coming back to see you. We just got to get him all right. And then we'll be talking to you. All right.
All right. Well, I hope he gets better soon.
I appreciate you, buddy. At SJohnson831 as always on Twitter. Thank you, dude. We'll talk soon. All right.
All right, have a good one.
Steve Johnson, former Orioles pitcher, with us here on GCR. Yeah, look, man, it's what I wrote about. Told you, it's what I wrote about at the press box today. I feel like I'm under the gun. You got to make your point. Make your point. You're out of time. I can't write this column next week because they might have started making trades by then. This was your chance, and the truth is, I don't know. It's the reality. I don't know. I think that they can afford to trade from that group. The Westberg thing is fascinating. And I told you guys we did this exercise before that I did not count Westberg among the untouchables. And that's not to say I want, like Steve was saying, I don't want to trade Jordan Westberg. But if that's what you got to do in order to protect Mayo or Holiday, I would think that you would do it. Those, to me, are two guys that I'm doing everything in my power to hold on to. Now, because of that, when I did this untouchable exercise, I said I can't, if I have to hold on to those guys, then I can't also say that Kjerstad and Basayo are untouchable. You can't get to the point where you say everyone's untouchable because then you can't make a trade. if Westberg, if they're flexible and say, like, again, that hurts your team this year, there's no doubt. Like, he's been a significant part of the success that you found. But if your confidence is that some of these other guys might be ready, I'm exploring it. I know a lot of people talked about Colton Cowser in that conversation. You know, same concept, right? I got to think about it. I got to consider it. You can't make these trades just for the guys that you're comfortable trading away. It's just, if you want the big pieces, if you want the top guys, even a Chris Bassett, for example, is going to come at a price. Which makes it tougher because that's within the division, and then, you know, you wonder if those guys are going to be trying to kick your ass for the next 10 years.
They will, yeah.
Able to kick your ass for the next 10 years. Of course, they'll be trying to kick your ass for the next 10 years. Why I said it that way. Remember, I'm tired. But yeah, you got to do it. If you want that guy, is that guy the difference, or can you mid-range your way to winning a World Series? Can you, as we talked about it before, Andrew Abbott, Eric Fetty, that group, and pay Norby, Stowers, Enrique Bradfield, those types of prospects, Beavers, Fabian, Chase McDermott. Not that you want to give up pitching prospects right now because you just don't got them. But if it requires that, if a team that's trading away a pitcher says, well, we have to get a pitcher back, can you do that and get those not the top of the market, but the next group, maybe get two of them? Because that's the difficult part about this, that even if you acquire Skubal, as I said before, now you're confident about three pitchers. Like, there are two other guys that have to start every time through the rotation just to get you to the playoffs, and then one other guy that would have to start in a long playoff series. Like, you're still not there. You hope, Steve was pointing out the positive qualities about the other guys. You hope that one of those guys can be more consistent between now and the end of the season, that would, if that's your fourth starter, you have more confidence in them. But I think you need to acquire multiple starters, multiple pitchers, and we're not even getting to the bullpen. So can you Eric Fetty, Andrew Abbott,
Jack Flaherty? Who's that?
I'm talking. Throw in Hunter Harvey. Can you Eric Fetty?
Did you see what Kyle Finnegan did this week?
No.
He saved 3 games in a row.
Okay.
All against the Reds. So
the
Reds.
Craig Kimbrell passed out.
Yeah.
Like thinking about it. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's pitching 3 straight days. That is remarkable. Okay. All right. Let's talk. But we saw how much how much that cost.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's just for that. And then what even? All right. Anyway.
Tanner Scott, maybe just make sure he doesn't, don't leave Miami without him.
Right. Just throw him on the plane.
Yeah.
Like,
see if they notice.
Hey,
they're not winning games anyway. They don't use them.
You remember us, right? Why don't you hop on with us and just come on back for a trip to Baltimore? That'd be nice. That'd be nice if it worked out that way. All right, we'll talk to Jeremy Conn about all of these things. Just get caught up with him. It's been a little bit too long. I don't like that. We will just get caught up with Jeremy when we come back in. It is a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
Frederick Keys baseball is back. With 30 more home games beginning on July 2nd, the Keys are excited to welcome you back to Nimio Field at Harry Grove Stadium. We want to see you there. Countless promotions will be on display every game, with it ranging from Tap House Tuesdays to Firework Fridays and everything in between. For more information or to buy tickets, call 301-815-9939 or visit frederickkeys.com today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Driving in Maryland? Did you know an Easy Pass from driveeasymd.com can save you time and money? Of course you did, because you are a thrifty driver. An antenna reads your Easy Pass transponder and automatically deducts the toll from your Easy Pass account. Learn more at driveeasymd.com.
Hagerstown, Maryland, a snapshot of American history that dates back centuries. Today, the roots of the city expand with another historical moment, the grand opening of Meredith Park, Hagerstown's new event stadium and home to the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Experience the energy, culture, and adventure. Plan your getaway today at America's newest and most innovative ballpark. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland. Visit Hagerstown.com.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas's 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at CostasInn.com.
There he is, Agent 00 Chicken. Nothing can keep him from Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Because right now, he can get a 3-piece world-famous chicken box for just $8 with a portion of each sale donated to a local charity. Plus, register to win world-famous chicken for a year. Come to Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. It's a real thriller, but it's only for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Escape to Ocean City, Maryland, and discover a place that just feels lighter, where every day feels like Saturday and French fries are a food group, where flip-flops are always in fashion and seafood is always in season, where the boardwalk is bustling and the beach is right outside your door, where you can rise with the tide and feel like a kid again. Ocean City, Maryland, somewhere to smile about. Book your trip at OCOcean.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
If you haven't picked up the print issue of Press Box yet, I'm not sure what you're waiting for. It's available for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms. They have the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. There's Maryland Governor Wes Moore. He's on the cover. He's talking sports and sports topics that are relevant to his administration, including the leases, the future of horse racing, things along those lines. You can go get that right now for free and, of course, read it at PressBoxOnline.com. It's also our travel issue, a lot of sports tourism opportunities that you can take advantage of this summer with your family. All right, we continue along on a Monday edition of the program. I don't know. Do you have the John Hart? Can you pull up the John Harbaugh thing? We'll deal with it because it's what like all of national sports media is talking about. I just don't know why. Nothing screams we're bored.
The Ravens tweet it, or
somebody. If you just search John Harbaugh, you're gonna find it. Like come on, man. Like you're gonna find it. If you need me to, if you're there, I'm here. If you need me to do your job for you, I'll come do your job for you. What was the Ollie? We'll do that. Jameson tweeted it. You can find it there if you'd like. Here's one. You need this? Here's clean audio. I
think I got one.
You think you got one?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. This is John Harbaugh was asked about criticism of Lamar Jackson. We're still banging this drum. Criticism of Lamar Jackson yesterday after the Ravens' first training camp practice, and he went on a bit of a Sermon on the Mount rant.
The Ravens, and we've always had a vision for Lamar Jackson. It started with Lamar's vision and his mom's vision when he said he was going to be a quarterback. He was going to be a quarterback in high school. He was going to be a quarterback in college. He was going to be a quarterback in the National Football League. And we bought into that. We embraced it. We built an offense for it at 19. We're building another offense for it in 23 and 24 going forward, right? The next iteration of our offense around Lamar Jackson. Because in my opinion, the vision for Lamar Jackson, and it's a vision, it's something you see it like it's already happened. You can see it like it's already been done. The victory has already been won when you pour into a vision. And the vision that we have together is that Lamar Jackson is going to become and be known and be recognized as the greatest quarterback ever to play in the history of the National Football League. That's the vision, all right? It's going to happen by Lamar, his work ethic, and his brilliant talent, by all of us pouring into that effort together as a team, teamwork, and by the grace of God and God's goodwill. That's how it's going to happen. And I believe it like we've already seen.
What even is there? Okay. That's the response to that. Okay. I mean, I guess we'll find out.
It's like I'm an elite quarterback, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, it's like people being mad that Joe Flacco dared to tell me he thought he was good at being a quarterback. I mean, what is there to be bothered about by that? And it's not even like at least when Joe Flacco said, I think I'm the best quarterback, we had like factual evidence that would say, okay, well, we know you're not the best today. There's nothing in there to even argue about. That's what they want to do. They want him to be the best quarterback of all time. Sounds good to me, boss. Does it seem likely? Considering the era that you're in, considering that, like, the guy that might be the greatest quarterback of all time is the one you're going up against and already has a 3 Super Bowl title lead over you.
All he's got to do is just win 8 of them, right?
Yeah, right. Then you're fine. Then you've got it. Like, this is no, it doesn't seem likely. But imagine being bothered by that being the goal. Imagine. How dare you? The appropriate response to that is say, okay. That's the appropriate response. Hope that it somehow ends up being true. Be great news here in Baltimore. But I can't, like, when I see people reacting to that, like there's some take. Like John Harbaugh said, all the other quarterbacks stink. Lamar's better than all of them. Which, by the way, even if he said that, you'd be like, well, that's his guy. That's what he's supposed to say. But he didn't. He just said, we have a vision to make Lamar Jackson the greatest quarterback of all time. Again, I don't think it's likely, but I also think that he's really good already and that his unique skill set is among the greatest of all time. But I get it. Like, we measure the greatness of quarterbacks by whether they won Super Bowls. Dan Marino might actually be the greatest quarterback of all time, but nobody thinks that because he never won a Super Bowl. I can't, what is there how bored are we? Maybe Jeremy Conn can explain it to me. It's been too long since we caught up with the host of the Big Bag Morning Show over on 105.7 The Fan. He is our friend Jeremy Conn, and he's back with us now here on GCR. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
Is this it? Am I caller number 7?
Yeah, you are the big
I've been holding since last Monday. I got the Matt Damon treatment.
Dude.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens. But by the way, the Glenn Clark radio show is the best radio show, and all other radio shows suck.
Yeah, right. Imagine if I came on and said, I want this to be the greatest show of all time. How dare you? What am I missing that people are bothered by about what John Harbaugh said yesterday? Why is this a topic on national shows today?
I don't know, because they're looking for something. I mean, the only thing going on is baseball, right? And camps opening. Yeah, I mean, this is all a bunch of BS. I mean, I think it'd be more interesting, to talk about, like, how this team's going to look compared to last year. I think that's more of an interesting debate than, wow, John Harbaugh said Lamar's the best. Is he the best? No, Patrick Mahomes is the best. I mean, like, what? And again, I'm listening to you talk about it. What do you expect him to say? Hey, we got the second best quarterback in the league.
Like,
then what? Lamar goes to us and says, hey, you don't have my back?
He didn't even say. He just said our vision is for him to be the best quarterback. Like, that's right. That's what I would think today if you did. Like, if you had, I don't even remember who's the coach in New England now. It's Mayo, right? Gerard Mayo.
Yeah.
If you had Gerard Mayo at
don't bring up Mayo to me.
Oh, we'll talk about it. If you had Gerard Mayo, oh man, at the podium today and said, hey. What do you think Drake May could be? And he said, well, I tell you what, I think he could be the 75th greatest quarterback of all time. Like, what?
Wow.
Like, what in the world do you think they're going to say? I'm so befuddled by this. Again, we could have interesting commentary about Lamar Jackson and how unique his skill set is and how different he is than other players. And like, we talk about it and that we could have it, but like, that's not even what we're doing. All he said was, we want him to be the greatest quarterback of all time. Yeah, me too. Like, check.
Boom, there.
What else we got?
No, but like, we were talking about it this morning about Lamar and some of the questions that surround him. And I think Rob even brought it up, like, if this year doesn't work out, who's more on the hot seat, Lamar or Harbaugh? And we had a discussion this morning, but it's kind of a silly discussion even to have because we don't know how this season's going to go and everything can change. But to your point in talking about Lamar, I brought it up this morning. Like, what if this ends up being like the Jordan era in basketball? And it's just, hey, it sucks. You got to play in the Pat Mahomes era. Good luck.
Yeah. Karl Malone never won a title, right? Like
Barkley, Ewing. Go through all the greats.
Phillip Rivers never won a Super Bowl, right? And I get it. Phillip Rivers is not going to be confused with the greatest quarterback of all time, but we certainly think he's a great one. It's a fair point to make, and we're so early in his career, it's almost absurd to even explore that, right? Like I guess because we forget how young he is because he came into the league at such a young age. We think. Yeah. We're so deep into his career, but the truth is, like, he came in at a very young age.
He's younger than Joe Burrow.
Correct. Yeah. Like, and nobody's having that conversation with Joe Burrow. Like, what if he doesn't win a Super Bowl? Well, like,
and sorry, Glenn, this is something, again, we went over this morning where they were talking about signature wins in the playoffs, and our producer threw out his game against the which game am I missing now? His last game, I think, against the Titans is what we were talking about. And he ran for 100 and some yards, like 130 yards, and he threw for like whatever it was, 160, 170, something like that. And I'm going, well, any other quarterback, that would be a 300-yard day if you were looking at it that way, except the ground yard is even harder to get. So I said you might have to look at him a little bit differently in the postseason because a lot of his offense is him running.
Yeah, that's a weird bit, too, that we've been doing it for this long and we're still struggling with the topic, right? Like, it's a weird bit that, like, this is not new. This is not we're still dealing. And by the way, I was talking about Justin Fields earlier. The Justin Fields thing to me is why are we still so afraid of this? Why are we still so convinced that it has to be this traditional 300? It's like, to me, talking about somebody getting a win in baseball. Like, why is that something we were talking about in 2024? And we haven't all figured out doesn't matter, is an irrelevant statistic. Why are we still talking about it like it's some sort of detriment that Lamar Jackson runs the football? How
would you like to have something, grading you and looking at you, like your ratings and all this other stuff? You look at all those things, right? And then all of a sudden somebody go, yeah, we're not gonna go by that. We have something better to use. And then there really is. There's better stuff to use when you're talking about statistics nowadays. Some people are just lazy and don't want to get into it. When I talk about analytics, and I remember being at a Ravens roost, I was talking about analytics, and the guy shakes his head no when I was explaining the difference between going for 2 and going for 1 and why they do it. And it was kind of funny because as I'm explaining it, he's shaking his head no, and I'm like, what do you mean no? He goes, no. I said, no, I'm giving you facts. Right. These are numbers.
Right.
I didn't just make this up. These are facts. This is what the percentages are.
Oh,
and the guy's still shaking his head. He just didn't. People don't want to buy into it.
The last time, I don't know, there was something happened like a month ago where Austin Hayes was put in as a pinch hitter. and it was whoever you pinch hit for had 2 hits in the game, and it was a left-handed hitter, and I don't remember who it was. So you're gonna have to, I don't remember all the details, but the internet melted down, and Austin Hayes, ironically, struck out, right? And I remember thinking like, oh God, I'm gonna have to deal with this. I better figure out what's going on. And I start diving in, and like every number, Austin Hayes against, left-handed pitchers, whoever it was against, right? Every number suggests, yeah, this was the right decision to make. This was all we're falling back on is the guy had 2 hits in the game, whoever it was. And I'm sorry, I wish I could remember who it was.
Is it Cowser? Because they've been or maybe it was Cedric Mullins.
I feel like Colton Cowser hasn't had it. No, he's a lefty too. Well, no, it had to be a lefty. Obviously, it had to be a lefty.
So it's either Kierstead or Cowser, right? More than likely.
Most likely is who it was. God, Griffin, try to track it down somehow. Try to poke around on who this was.
But I mean, the point's relevant of what you're talking about.
Every number said, all right, this is what you got to do. Like this is the move. And at that point in the season, Austin Hayes was hitting something like 500 as a pitch hitter this season. On top of it, I'm like, every number says this is what you got to do. And it goes back to like there's this weird group of people that just doesn't like Brandon Hyde for whatever reason. Has just decided they don't like Brandon Hyde. And I keep telling them, like, you're missing the point because you're screaming about Brandon Hyde, but you don't understand. If Brandon Hyde wasn't the manager, the next manager would be someone that would value the data. Like, This is not Brandon Hyde freelancing and saying, the hell with what you care about. I decided that the data is going to be how I make the decisions. The organization has decided we believe they are Yale-educated people that have studied the Pythagorean model and believe that this S matters. And Brandon Hyde is the manager because he's with it. And if he wasn't with it, the next guy would be because they've decided the data matters. And if you don't believe that, or if you come back and I deal with it, Reed and I fight about it. Reed will be like, well, I don't think analytics should be the end-all, be-all. I'm like, well, I don't know.
It's not, but it should be a big part of what you're doing because it's information. That's all it is. Man, like this stuff, it always gets to me too because I know you and I have talked about it a lot. It's taken a while. It's like Rob Long has fully embraced baseball analytics and hates football analytics. And I love football analytics because what it's doing is giving you percentages. And the problem is we have results-driven people that aren't put on the spot to say, hey, what would you do in this moment? They only react after it. And, that was a bad decision. Well, why was it a bad decision? Because it didn't work out.
Right.
Well, that's not how it should go. Like,
correct.
If there's a 60% chance that this works, there's also a 40% chance it doesn't. Right. So, I mean, that's what drives me nuts, and people fail to look at those things.
If the data is more neutral, right? Like, if you – let's just spitball. If somehow Austin Hayes was hitting, 284 against lefties, and whoever it was hitting – 270 against and had 2 hits in the game against okay, then yeah, you know what I mean? Like, sure, that's more neutral data where I would find myself saying perhaps this is not a move that needs to be made and this is absurd. But when the data all says the same thing, when you dive in, I'm a dummy, I'm an idiot, and I can find these numbers. And if I can do that, and they all have it because every time this is one of the things I like about Brandon Hyde. Every time he gets asked about something like this in a postgame, he always knows. He can recite it off the top of his head. Well, Johnson's hitting 333 on third. Like, he knows. If they've got it all right there, asking them to say, don't try to use this to your advantage is, reckless. It would be insane.
And think about the other parts of this, too, where fans start screaming, and it's like, oh, my God, how's he taking this pitcher out? Well, he has 80 pitches, and it's the 3rd time through the lineup. So you'd rather bring in somebody fresh from the bullpen.
Right.
Or when you're looking at significant, you bring it up with the batter matchups. That's something to look at. Or when you're bringing a bullpen arm in to replace somebody. Like, there are numbers that state everything of why this is a good matchup, why that's a bad matchup. And then it's up to Brandon Hyde to decide what he wants to use. If I'm in a situation, is there a part of the game where I'm going to have a feel for it? Sure. And he's played the game. He knows the game. But there's also the part of it, too, where he's just going to trust what the numbers say.
That's the way it goes. And that's by the way, that's the job of most managers. There are very few managers at this point. We were trying to play this game a couple weeks ago. how many managers have the ability to say my decision-making process is going to outweigh the data at this point in baseball? And the list, to me, seems like it's Bruce Bochy and no one else.
I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that would really stand out from that standpoint in the National League, but some of these guys have changed places so far. Maybe in Atlanta they could, but I don't even know that that's a place. They've had so many injuries and things, but like that you're going to overlook the data. But yeah, you're right. Like Bruce Bochy's the one guy that's had success everywhere he's gone. And the odd thing about him is win the World Series, miss the playoffs the next year. Yep. That's what he does.
Oh, he's like a 500 career manager. But it's going to go down as one of the greatest managers of all time.
Well, he also had, when you have Mad Bum and you go say, hey, can you give me another inning, Skip? I can give you 3 more if you need it.
Yeah, it does help. It does make your job a little bit easier when you have that. Where are you with the big names that are out there right now that have been reportedly connected to the Orioles, the Scoobles, the Crochets, the Mason Millers? Are you on board with the idea of paying a big price in order to improve the deadline, or keep it sort of middle ground?
So the problem is the damn Padres, man. When they traded for Juan Soto and they gave up 3 premier prospects in that move, and they got him for a year and a half. But Juan Soto's WAR is double what Tarek Skubals is. So like even getting him 2.5 years, and things are changing obviously with he looks like the best pitcher in baseball right now, going there with Corbin Burns. The National League's a little bit more wide open. He's the one guy I'd make a move for, but I don't want to give up 2 of the 3 of Jackson Holliday, Basayo, and Kobe Bayo. I'd be willing to give up 1 in the right deal and then like litter that with a bunch of other good prospects, because people can say what they want. Here we're going, Kyle Stowers is blocked. If I'm looking at it from another GM, I'm going, what the hell? All this kid does is hit home runs in AAA. Why don't we give him a spot every day and see what he does at the majors? And I bet he ends up being really good. I have confidence in all those prospects. Connor Norby, somebody was like, oh, we should trade Jackson Holliday. And I'm like, well, if you do, you still have Connor Norby, which is a really good prospect, but I don't want to trade Jackson Holliday. So it just makes it difficult. I'm glad Mike Elias has to make these decisions, because me personally, I don't know if I would trade away one of those or 2 of those guys, or what the rumor was they asked for all 3 of them, which you're allowed to do, but it's just a bit ridiculous.
Look, you can't pay. Nobody's paying this. Like, it's just not happening. Not for a pitcher. Like, that's insane. Like, even the best pitcher. I'm really torn, though, just in general about this theory, because, like, I love the idea of Skubal, even with, the injury history. Like, you need these types of guys on your team, and it costs you something to have them. Like, it's easy to say, hey, we're not going to do it, but then you don't have that guy. And until we know that they're going to be willing to spend money, like, that does, like, if you're not going to trade for them, are you willing to spend money on front? Like, the idea that you can win World Series without having drafted and developed pitchers and just hoping for the best when it comes to pitching, they don't have it. It's not there. Like, the pitching isn't there within this organization to be able to win World Series in the coming years. So,
well, and the other part of this too is they're not going to be able to pay all those guys.
Right.
Like, and I'm not saying trade Jackson Holliday because you can't pay him. If you're trying to pay Adley Rutschman and Gunnar Henderson. And the only reason I bring those 2 names up is they're going to come up way before him, their contracts. And then on top of it, we've seen them at the major league level. We know what they are. And I feel like every Oriole fan, if you gave them the option of what to do, they would say extend Gunnar and extend Adley and extend Mike Elias. But, like you look at all those things, but at some point we have to treat prospects for what they are. And that's just prospects, even though we have a ton of confidence in our guys when they get to the major league level. You're just not going to be able to keep them all. I think Kobe Mayo should be here already, but that's just me.
Yeah, we agree about that. I mean, I just can't justify Ramon Urias' spot on the roster any longer. Let me go a step further, though. Mm-hmm. We were talking to Steve Johnson a minute ago, and he said if in order to keep, the top prospects, if you're talking to the Tigers about Skubal, and they want, Mayo, they want Holliday, and you switched it out and said, how about Westberg instead?
Ooh. I don't want to do that either. I mean, Westberg, I think he's just so undervalued, and but I guess but you're in a run for the World Series. I can't give up an everyday player that's done everything you're looking at unless I'm not going to sign him. And you have Westberg for a long period of time. Like, we had somebody call in today and say, why don't you throw Mountcastle and Hayes in a trade? And I'm going,
that's not.
Well, first off, if you don't want them,
right.
They don't want them. And I'm not saying that about Hayes and Mountcastle, but and then he also said, why don't we give him a couple prospects that we don't want?
Yeah,
that's not how this works.
Yeah.
You know, you got to give up something of value.
And that's why we're having this I thought it was interesting because if you believe that Mayo, that Holiday are ready, if you believe that, then look, I did a deep dive on Westberg at the All-Star break, and it was weird because I think Jordan Westberg's been great, but the truth is defensively he's not been good at second base. We all praise his versatility, but he has not been a good defensive second baseman.
He's more comfortable at third.
Yes, he's definitely more of a third baseman, which, again, I'm not saying isn't a commodity, but it's not the commodity that a middle infielder would be. And he's got more strikeouts and fewer walks than you really want. He's a hell of a hitter, but he's not really, the complete batter that you would like him to be, I think, to make him untouchable to me. I think he's a really nice player, but I can't put him in an untouchable conversation.
No, but that's the first time I've heard that name. So when you threw it out there, it kind of caught me off guard because I kept saying, how come nobody's talking about Towser and trades?
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it at all. I hadn't thought about it at all until Steve brought it up. I was like, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, because that's a name that, we didn't call him an untouchable, but we kind of felt that way. And the only reason I say that is it's because they're still in it for a pennant chase and a World Series. So, you don't want to trade something of value unless you're getting something significant back. But some people might say, too, don't you have that in the farm system? Yeah, but we haven't seen it yet. As much as I love Jackson Holiday and think it's a no-brainer that he's going to be a superstar at the next level,
right?
I mean, that was abysmal what he did when he first came up, and then he even changed his batting stance. Kobe Mayo's done nothing but just hit majestic bombs. But what if he comes up and he's a slouch at third base and can't play the position and he's just a glorified DH? I mean, all these things could be true. I'm not saying they will be, but and then the same thing with Basayo. Basayo's a switch-hitting catcher. And right now, every time I got to see James McCann in the lineup and go 0 for 3 with 2 ground outs to the pitcher, it's I don't know, and striking out. I don't know that this is what you want because you want Adley to have days off. So how about getting another catcher that you trust?
That's a conversation. Look, man. The difficult part is finding there are no backup catchers in baseball that can hit. They just don't exist.
But I think the whole idea of Basayo getting here and rotating him and Rutschman, if that were what they were thinking, I think it's beautiful.
Yep, it's definitely the ideal thought process. Is you have 2 guys, they play 2 positions, and they, when one's not DHing, they're behind. I get the entire thought process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so a couple things, Jeremy Conn. One, yes, you owe us a few things. I'm sorry. It's just
I know.
the way it goes.
It's been
I have a more important question. Has Griffin been getting on you about it, or has he not even brought it up to you?
No, he's texted me a couple times. It's just a matter. I got to find an Irish dance class. That's all I have to find and figure out how where it is and how I can get there.
All right.
So, and if I'm being honest, I haven't spent the time I should spend doing this. This whole summer I've been doing double duty.
If Griffin, helps you in looking for that, then we'll work on that part of the process. So I know you've been doing what You Better You Bet, right?
Yeah, I'm doing it today, and I thought I was off, so that was kind of a surprise.
And then, but the Mayo dogs, I feel like we should be able to knock out quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you just tell me when you want me to come by. Now, here's my question.
Yes.
I get to put the Mayo on the dogs, right? And I'm not going to be like, hey, go get me a switch, because I don't want some a-hole smothering these things. That wasn't the deal. It was just Mayo on a hot dog.
The deal was kind of that they were smothered. That was kind of
the deal.
No,
it wasn't. Come on. That was never said. We're not going to cover these things in Mayo. I want to be able to eat them.
All right, let's go back and listen to it. I believe the deal was that, the bun is covered in mayo, correct?
Oh, my God.
I believe that's...
I'm not bowing out.
You just thought it was mayo on top of the dog?
I mean, if you were to put ketchup, on both sides of the dog, touching both buns, right?
All right, we'll look into it. Well,
that's my thing. How you would normally eat a hot dog. Instead of having ketchup and mustard, you should have...
We got to go back.
The same amount of mayo.
We got to go back and see, because this was inspired by something that came up. This was inspired...
Okay.
This wasn't just this was a trend that was happening on the internet. And that's the reason why we thought
and the other thing I'll say is whatever you guys find, I'll do. I'm not going to argue it. I'm clearly going to argue for my own players, which is just me and nobody else.
Jeremy's over here I like our guys.
Yeah. No, but man, that's on me. I got like I said, I got to pick it up. And, I'm headed out.
It doesn't look good.
Griffin's gonna send you the picture. It's a lot. I mean, like it's a healthy amount of mayonnaise. He'll send you the picture.
Well, that's fine. And the other thing is, I don't know if you know, but I'm going out to Napa.
No, this was
Did I tell you that I want a ticket?
You're doing the thing. Oh, that's not bad.
The FanDuel's World Baseball Championship. So in August, I'm going to be gone for a week and go compete for $500,000. So it should be fun.
I got a thing going on with the family. I'll tell you about it another time. But you and Griffin work this out. Griffin, it's not and it's not even on Jeremy. You're the producer.
Okay.
You work it out. All right. You prioritize it.
The hot dog thing. You just let me know when you want me to come by.
Jeremy's a very available person. You know that.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, are you? I think we've talked about both of them before, but I don't remember. And it's been I feel like 6 weeks since I've talked to you. Are you? Do you watch The Bear?
Yes, I didn't finish the third season.
You haven't finished it yet. How far into the season?
No, I'm about 4 episodes in, and then someone put me on to some other show, and since my wife was off, we've been watching that. She didn't watch The Bear with me.
I need you to hurry up and finish it so we can talk about it because I shared some thoughts last week, and they got a little. There was a lot of back and forth from a few different folks in my life about The Bear. The Boys.
Can I throw a couple of shows at you?
Sure.
Because I threw them at Rob, and Rob loved it.
What about The Boys? Where are you with The Boys?
Oh, I've finished that. The Boys is amazing.
I cannot. I am convinced the only people that were down on this season were the people that finally, like the dummies that finally realized that everybody was looking at them, right? Like that show is so brilliant. I can't put it into words. It is.
It's incredible, man. Like I can't wait to watch it. Like I've been waiting every Friday morning to watch it. My son goes, it comes out on Thursday.
Right.
I'm like, what?
Right.
What's my mind?
It's been my Friday thing too, and then I put my old roommate on it finally, and he caught up in like all of a week because he was so obsessed with it. I don't know why we don't talk about it more. Like we have a rule that we can only say that on like HBO shows and the only shows that are ever allowed to be talked about as the best shows in television. The Boys needs to be discussed more as one of the great television
Well, I think now
shows
with
of
the
last
platforms, it's got to be different because it's not just programming. Just cable programming. You're talking about the things that are going on now. You can see very different things in these shows.
Yep.
So the one that my wife and I love, and then Rob Power watched this weekend is Presumed Innocent. If you're not watching that, Jake Gyllenhaal on Apple.
Okay.
So he's a lawyer, and somebody in his firm gets murdered, but he'd been having an affair with her.
Oh.
So he's obviously the guy that they think did it. And there's a ton of twists and turns, man. It's awesome.
All right.
It's got a bunch of actors in it you'll recognize.
Okay.
So.
I'm not unwilling. My problem is after Ted Lasso, I canceled Apple, so I got to figure out what I would do there. I'll figure something out.
Yeah, that's good. And the other one I like is on Peacock. I'm almost done it. I'll finish watching it today. Those About to Die. It's about Rome.
Yes.
Like Ramsey Bolton's in it. And it's about like the
Anthony Hopkins,
chariot races and gladiators and stuff like that, and all these factions. I love that stuff.
All right,
pretty good.
I'll take a look. I gave a shot to. It's an Italian show on Netflix. I'm a couple episodes in. It's called Super Sex.
What's the name? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Super Sex is the name of the show. It's It's apparently a true story about like the most famous Italian porn star of all time.
Oh, very nice.
And he his entire path was created around the idea that he wanted to be a superhero named Super Sex.
Nice.
It's interesting. It's interesting is as much as I can give it so far. It's also
if I were a sex superhero, my name would be The Flash.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense, right? That would make a lot of sense. It's dubbed, which bothers me, but I can't do when everybody yells at me about why aren't you just watching it with subtitles? Like, nah, dude, I can't. I have to watch the.
You know what the cool thing of watching it with subtitles though is it makes sure you're off your phone. You got to pay attention.
Yeah, there is that. There's no doubt, but it's too much. It's too much. Like I can do it. When they would do those episodes of Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, where they were based in Mexico for those episodes, and there was a lot of Spanish. I can do it for part of an episode. I can't do it for the entire series.
Can I be honest? I've never watched Better Call Saul, and I loved Breaking Bad.
Oh, you should definitely.
I've never started it. Dude. Yeah, I mean, I think I got to just sit down and power watch it.
Oh yeah.
My wife was watching it, and I'd catch some of it, and then I'm like, I'm not going to get into it.
It really was wonderful. It's not Breaking Bad, but it's a wonderful show. And plus, Bob Odenkirk, dude. Bob Odenkirk's amazing.
Yeah, Bob Odenkirk's great.
Yeah, he's phenomenal.
I'm more of a David Cross guy myself, but I love both.
Mr. Show, not bad. All right. So yeah, you're every morning on 105.7 The Fan, and then every afternoon over on.
This week it's Monday and Friday, and I'll be on You Better You Bet. I think every Friday in the summer. So.
Excellent. That's on the BetQL network, which you can hear on.
Yeah, you can hear it here locally on 1300 AM or find it on Sirius, whatever.
Yep.
So.
And of course at JCon Sports. And what are people doing to sign up right now?
Yeah, so like they're working on my website now. Like people can go to it and see what's there at concretelocks.com, but it's still like under construction and different things we're going to do. And then even when it's ready to go, there still might be some tweaking. But the last thing I have to do is set up Stripe for it, which is the payment process for the site. Right. But yeah, I think it looks pretty good, and I'm pretty excited about where it's going. So
Excellent. All right, buddy. Love you. At JCon Sports on Twitter is how you follow him. Let's talk again.
I'll be by sometime to eat some wieners.
Thank you, buddy.
Smothered in mayo.
There you go. That's our guy, Jeremy Conn. All right. When we come back in, we'll get a tidbit. We will get Tubular to wind things down for a Monday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Hey Birdland, enjoy a Friday night out at Camden Yards on July 26th and watch the Orioles take on the San Diego Padres at 7:05. Come to the game early. The first 20,000 fans 21 and over will receive a City Connect reversible floppy hat presented by Coors Light. This season's floppy hat features a reversible design with the City Connect B for Baltimore on one side and the vibrant, colorful pattern on the other. Don't miss out on this fan favorite giveaway. Buy your tickets today at Orioles.com/tickets.
Treat yourself and taste the Baltimore tradition that is the legendary Costas Inn. Hey, it's Stan the Fan Charles. For over 50 years, the Costas Inn has been a Baltimore original, dishing out their legendary fat, delicious, award-winning crab cakes and steamed crabs. It's crab season, so sit back and crack some crabs while watching the Birds pursue another divisional title on Costas' 15 TVs. On Monday night, the Costas Inn offers their half-pound jumbo lump crab cake with 2 sides for under $30. So head on down to the Costas Inn today at 4100 North Point Boulevard or visit them at costasinn.com.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
There he is, Agent 00 Chicken. Nothing can keep him from Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. Because right now, he can get a 3-piece world-famous chicken box for just $8 with a portion of each sale donated to a local charity. Plus, register to win world-famous chicken for a year. Come to Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. It's a real thriller, but it's only for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now, and on the cover, Glenn Clark and Stan the Fan Charles sit down for a sports conversation with Maryland Governor Wes Moore, discussing the Orioles and Ravens stadium leases, the future of horse racing in Maryland, and how his own football career at Johns Hopkins shaped him as a leader. This is also our annual travel issue with information about sports tourism opportunities in Maryland for your family to take advantage of throughout the summer. Press Box is available for free at over 500 locations throughout the region, including 60 Royal Farm stores. Or you can read the entire issue at PressBoxOnline.com, where you can find great betting advice and the best daily coverage of the O's, Ravens, and Terps.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
All right, back in here on GCR as we are winding down for a Monday edition of the program. I'm trying to think of theirs. Oh, the Team USA nearly lost to South Sudan in basketball. That was
fun.
Was it? I mean, if you care.
Basketball game that matters.
Yeah, I guess because it doesn't really matter. So what if they lose? But, like, man.
I mean, if they lost.
Yeah, I think they're fine. Like, I don't think they're – but whatever. That was something. That was something. I feel like that was about it from the week. It wasn't a very eventful weekend, was it? There's nothing I'm missing, I don't think.
No, Jake Paul was boxed.
Right. I said eventful.
Well, they made it act like it was an event.
No. Okay. So anyway, though,
I think it was right. The Orioles were right across the street.
So nothing then. So nothing then. Right? They didn't do it at the stadium, right? They did it somewhere else. They moved that far. They didn't do that at the stadium.
Yeah, but I think they were still like in Texas. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't know. I mean, they might have been. I'm not sure, but they didn't do it at the football stadium. It was in Tampa. You're not even close. But all good.
It's 2 5-letter T words.
That's what you came up with.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No.
I feel like we're good. All right, well then let's do this.
Have you ever thought of taking a cruise to these wonderful destinations with sunny skies and beautiful beaches? Well, wait no longer. We're ready for you to cruise from the Cruise Maryland Terminal.
Have a little phrase that you can go from baggage to margarita in about 15 minutes.
Choose fun with an array of destinations, onboard activities, entertainment, and world-class cuisine.
Contact your travel agent and book your cruise today. Let your adventure begin.
All right, so what you got for us for Tidbit of the Day?
This one comes from Jake Rill, and he tweeted out on Saturday, or I guess it was Sunday, but it was after Grayson's start on Saturday. Orioles pitchers with 12 wins and 100-plus strikeouts over their first 18 outings in a season. Grayson Rodriguez and one other. 12 wins in their first 18 starts. 100-plus strikeouts.
Jim Palmer.
Not Jim Palmer.
Messina.
Not Moose.
12 wins. 18
starts.
100 or more strikeouts.
There is a place.
All right. How about oh God. I hate the wins thing is so stupid.
It was you want it or
no, I mean I can just keep guessing like Dennis Martinez.
Not Dennis Martinez.
How about Mike Cuellar?
Not Cuellar.
How about McNally?
You're going a little too far back.
Going too far back. How about Eric Bedard?
Too far present.
All right. Somewhere between those navigational beacons is what we got. All right. Then how about Scott Erickson?
Not Scott Erickson.
Then Boddicker.
Mike Boddicker.
Okay.
Well done. 1986.
Well done. It was like my 13th guess.
Well, I mean, it felt like we weren't going to get there at all.
Okay.
So yeah, well done. Mike Boddicker and Grayson Rodriguez, the only two Orioles. I don't know. I feel pretty. Do you want the other one?
There? We can leave it there. I got to get out at some point today pretty quickly. All right. Very good. Let's get tubular.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland.
Not a a lot going on, unfortunately. The Orioles are, of course, off tonight. The final USA Basketball tune-up for the Olympics is this afternoon, 3 o'clock against Germany on Fox.
LeBron was named as
the flag bearer.
Yes,
I saw that.
Yes, flag bearer. First, Brian Windhorst says the first male basketball player to ever receive the honor in U.S. history.
Cool. I'm not going to watch the opening ceremony.
What do you mean?
Never.
They're going to go down whatever that river
The
is.
Seine. Whatever that river is. The river. Oh, God. You sure you're not available for trivia? I don't think I'll be I don't know if I'll be at trivia. No, we'll see. Whatever. The river in Paris is what Griffin had to work
the Paris
with.
River?
And he came up with whatever that river is.
I mean, you know what I'm talking about.
It's the Seine.
Yeah.
It's the river in Paris.
The Seine, sure.
MLB Network, Rays, Yankees at 1. Let's go Rays. Phillies, Twins, 7:30. Giants,
so is
Dodgers
this like,
at 11:30.
why are the Rays always part of these 4-game Monday series?
Yeah, well, this one's in New York.
It
though,
isn't,
so I
yeah.
don't know.
But at least it's at 1 o'clock, I guess. So
Yeah.
it makes it a little...
Brewers, Cubs, 8:05 on ESPN+. The Summer League Championship includes Cam Spencer as the Grizzlies take on the Heat, 9 o'clock on ESPN. Basketball tournament continues tonight on Fox Sports 2 and Fox Sports 1 and the USA Network for WWE Monday Night Raw tonight at 8. Some non-sports highlights?
The Bachelorette at 8. Keanu Reeves will be on Stephen Colbert. He wrote a sci-fi novel, apparently.
Sure he did. Why not? He's Keanu Reeves. He can do whatever he wants.
Ryan Reynolds will be on Fallon, along with Jim In. And it is Season 2 on the History Channel of Great Escapes with Morgan Freeman.
Didn't get to see Twisters.
Oh.
I'm going to need... You liked it?
Oh, yeah.
Gonna need
Twisters is pretty good.
Need my kid to get better so we can. Deadpool, I'm not skipping. Like, bro, if you ain't good by this weekend, Dad's lying. He's gonna lie about where he's going. He's gonna say a very important meeting, and that meeting is going to be at the Cinemaplex, and we are going to see Deadpool. That's the way that it's gonna go. All right. By the way, the other mistake.
Yes.
In order to try to keep his spirits up, I keep talking about like what we're gonna do when he gets out. Right? Like I'm like, all right, we'll go to an Orioles game. Well, you just try to keep his spirit. The list is getting too long. It's a mistake. I have made a clear mistake.
Got some Orioles games.
And, all of a sudden he's like, oh, and you promised me that so he's been watching Nickelodeon and they've been advertising this like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's like oh, damn it. Hang on. I'll see if I can come up with it because I told him I was going to remember it, but it's like a stick candy that you then dip in gelatin. On top of that,
I remember like Fun Sticks.
Juicy Drop Gummy Dippin' Sticks. Looks like an abomination.
Juicy Drop.
Gummy Dippin' Sticks.
Okay. I remember normal Dippin' Sticks.
Oh
my God.
It's just, this looks like hell.
I want to try one.
They're gummy sticks to begin with, and then there's this like candy gel in the middle of the cup. And you dip the candy in more candy and consume it, it just looks like a sticky nightmare. But they have been advertising the F out of it on Nickelodeon.
It's only $2 at Walmart.
Yeah. And so I told him, all right, bud, when you get out. By the way, I let him try the chips yesterday. And he's been refusing to eat like when this has been going on. So we had to be like, all right, dude, well, I got these chips. And so I gave him because we tried. My friend Emily Reese brought us the hers Philly flavors for the year, and they're
pierogi,
cheese ravioli, and stromboli, hot stromboli. It's hot ass, is what that it is. I would rather eat ass. Like it is. They are so bad I can't put it into words.
I had the marinara one low. I did marinara on the chip. That just didn't work for me. It didn't.
The cheese ravioli?
Yeah.
He loved them.
Really?
Had to leave the bag. He wouldn't eat anything yesterday. The only thing he would eat was saltine crackers until I gave him some cheese ravioli chips.
Saltine crackers are pretty good.
And I'm going to be convinced that when I go back to the hospital, the bag's going to be empty. Like, he was all in on the cheese ravioli chips. Refused to try the others. Refused to try the stromboli. He decided he liked those, and he was good now. Like, he did not need anything else. He won't eat meals.
That's the cure for...
I guess. Lung infections. Like, apparently it's just get him some cheese ravioli potato chips.
They were not. I didn't like them.
Rough. But, yeah, I got to stop telling him that we'll do things. Like, I just want him to... Because, again, he's just so
more mint
dejected.
Chocolate chip Oreos on
he's
the way.
So miserable. Like, I just want to be
Yeah.
like, hey, buddy, when we get out, you know what we're going to do? Like, and so I've definitely promised Orioles games. I've definitely promised... Oh, God, I promised something else. That he... Like, I definitely promised these stupid dipping sticks. And then I promised
Sounds
something
like you're not
else.
too deep in the hole yet.
I don't know, man. I'm starting to regret it. Like, I can't keep doing this.
Obviously, the movies, yeah. It's too much, man. But the movies you were going to do anyway, so, like...
Well, that's for me. That's not for him. He's not going to see Deadpool. It's rated R.
Oh,
Like, that's not
Oh,
happening.
I thought you meant Twisters. Like,
Oh, no. He wants to see Despicable Me. We didn't get to see it before.
That's fair.
Yeah, so they're both pretty mad at me about it because I promised that was going to be our plan if it rained at the beach. We'd go see Despicable Me. But then the rain was never so bad that, like, we couldn't go do anything. So then I was like, all right, well, next week we'll go see it. And then... that was the plan for this weekend. We were going to go to the drive-in. They were showing Despicable Me and Twisters, but alas.
Rats.
All right. That'll do it for us. Thanks today to Steve Johnson. Thanks also to Corey Wootton and Jeremy Conn. We'll get all that and 3 Up and 3 Down. And remember, as I told you, not a robust response to 3 Up and 3 Down today. That $50 gift card to Costas Inn is still very much in play. So I would get your responses in. That's what I would do. All right, thanks to everybody at Pressbox. Oh, wait, anything? I didn't even say. We'll get all of it up in the greatest hits section of the...
Oh, my God. It's so good. Yeah.
Tab at GlennClarkRadio.com.
There's too much going on now. You got too many syllables.
Anything? Bob Nightingale's joining us
yes,
tomorrow.
Bob Nightingale will join
do
us.
a trade deadline primer.
And, stuff and things. Okay. Probably more baseball.
Thanks to everybody at Pressbox. All of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel Maryland, Easy Pass, Ocean City, Visit Hagerstown in Washington County, Cruise Maryland, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, the Ed Black Courage Awards, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costas Inn, MSAA, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Monday evening. Go Team USA, I guess. Duke sucks.